See. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to episode 6 of Boots and Shoots Unfiltered. Tonight we got an awesome guest, Chaplain, Lieutenant Colonel Charlie Shields. Been around the Army. I think he's done everything you can imagine in the service. So enlisted guy to, officer now. So Lieutenant Colonel Chaplain. So, we wanted to get him on here and just BS and listen to what he's got to say and him tell his story because it's a pretty awesome one, pretty motivated one to tell. So, Chris, you got anything to open comments, Commander?
Just happy to have you on. Like we were discussing beforehand, it's been too long since we've seen each other.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Charlie, you can just kick it off, man. Tell us who you are and where you're from.
So I'm Charlie Shields. I grew up in Indiana, joined the Army the day after I turned 17 and left. And I've been married to my wife now for 39 years. And I'm sitting in the 23rd house that we've lived in. I've only done 2 jobs in my entire life. I've done the military and the ministry, and then I've done the ministry in the military. And so I've had a pretty great run at things. And I'm about to wrap it up here in a couple months.
Yeah. It's going to come fast, Charlie.
Yeah.
It comes fast. And you start to realize that's because I retired in May. So I've been out end of the month now. It'll be a year for me. So
man, that seems like it was yesterday.
I know. I still look 30 years and I still look back on it. It's just, man, good times. I don't want to forget. But yeah, so thank you for coming on. Charlie. Hey guys, Charlie's a busy man. Doing what he's got to do with his work, but he took time to come on here and give us a little bit of a what's going on and what's going on in the world with him, and some advice for y'all that are listening in. So where are you from, Charlie?
I grew up in Bloomington, Indiana.
Bloomington, Indiana. What did you go? Did you play sports in high school or anything like that?
I was a wrestler and I ran cross country, but awesome. I wasn't great at any of them. I was a good soldier, but I was not. I just made the team. I was in a small school, and it was kind of like if you showed up and you could play. I mean, I lettered all my years that I played sports, but I wasn't. No one was looking at me for any kind of like, oh, this guy's going to do something great. I was like, whatever, kid, you're up next.
Yeah. What made you? Were you thinking about the military during high school, or did you? I mean, how did you kind of get on that?
Yeah, I come from a long family of military service. My grandfather was on the aircraft carrier where the Japanese surrendered. My grandfather was on the deck of that. My uncle, my dad's little brother, has a picture of him on the deck of that. And then my dad was in just after the Korean War. He was also in the Navy. I have an uncle that was a Marine Corps Raider in Korea. So I grew up. I didn't know my grandfather. He died when I was little in an accident. But I grew up with all of his World War II friends, and then my dad and his friends, and then his friends' sons were Vietnam vets. I still remember very vividly a friend of my dad's, his son, that came to see us before he went to in your line of work as a Marine. He went to South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
And he went to boot camp, came back, went to Vietnam, came back. And I just remember thinking at a very young age that all I want to do is I just want to be some type of a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned about the Army Rangers, and I went and saw a recruiter. I was 16, the week I turned 17. My birthday's next month. And so the week I turned 17, I went and saw a recruiter, and I said, hey, man, I want to join the Army, and I want to be an airborne ranger.
Mm.
And he said, how old are you? I said, I'll be 17 on Friday. He said, will your parents sign? I said, it's just my dad, but yeah, he'll sign. And so I took the ASVAB, and he came out to the house on Saturday, and I joined the Army.
Nice. Yeah. On the Ranger contract, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So I'm curious, right? Because I had similar into why I went infantry, but I was already in the military at that point. I.e., I wanted to go to Ranger school. What drew you to being a Ranger? How did you find out about being a Ranger?
Well, it's funny. So the truth of the story is, I wish I could just say to you, man, I just wanted to be an airborne ranger. But the truth of it is I want to be a Navy SEAL. My dad was the Navy. My grandpa was the Navy. And so this was 1983. And you couldn't just join the Navy to be a SEAL. You had to do an enlistment and then re-enlist or or try out for buds or something. And my dad was like, "Don't do it. If you do it, your ass will be on a you'll be on some destroyer, and it'll never happen. Like they're lying to you." And then my uncle was a Marine Corps Raider, and so I thought, well, maybe I'll try the Raiders. And I was sitting outside the Marine Corps recruiting office, and the Army recruiter came by, and he was like, "What are you doing? I thought you want to be a Navy SEAL," because I'd kind of seen them. And I was like, "Yeah." My old man said that that's not a good choice, so I thought I'd talk to see if I could be a Raider. And he was like, "Have you heard of the Rangers?" I said, "I have." He said, "You want to be an airborne ranger?" I said, "Can you guarantee it?" He said, "I can give you a contract where they're standing up this new battalion at Fort Benning, Georgia. And I can give you, if you can score high enough on the ASVAB," he said, "I can give you a contract like this week." And I was like, "All right, let's do it." And so then we went in. It was, "How old are you?" And
What year was that, Charlie? What year was that?
June 1983.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
man.
Yeah. I watched the Grenada happen. I still remember when, October 83, when the Grenada happened. And I came home from wrestling practice. It was October, of course. And I came home and I saw this happen. I saw this, I saw the combat jump into Grenada and the skirmish, the fighting. And my stepmother said, "Why are you so interested in that?" And I said, "'Cause I'm going to be one of those guys in about 5 months. I left in January. I said, I just signed a contract to be one of those guys. I can't wait. I hope they save some war for me."
Yeah.
17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And that's,
So
that's
you went to basic, and then you went straight to basic training. You went to AIT.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was called differently back then in E3, but went to AIT for infantry training. And then you went to Ranger School.
No, I went to basic and AIT, and then I graduated basic and AIT like on a Wednesday or Thursday. I went straight over cross post, went to airborne
Oh
school,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yep.
graduated airborne school, and then went to, back then it was called RIP, Ranger Indoctrination Program. All it did was it was just 3 weeks of pure hazing to see who was going to quit. But I mean, I grew up pretty rough in Indiana, and I was like, "There's no, I ain't quitting."
Yeah,
And then when I went to battalion, and then I didn't go to Ranger School until I went to Ranger School in 1985 as a
yeah,
private.
yeah. How was RIP compared to? I mean, it was probably one of the hardest things you did so far. I mean, in your career. I mean, jumping out airplanes, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But getting
No,
thrown
it
right into
was.
Ranger
Yeah.
community.
Well, they
You
were
know.
all Grenada Raiders. So,
Yeah.
so I imagine. So, are you a brigade commander now, sir? You know, 6.
no, 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 no. I'm a shrag. I'm something else now.
Okay. All right. So you can imagine you and the sergeant major here are a command team, and they come, and 10th Mountain comes and says, "Hey, we're going to stand up another battalion. We need some NCOs." I mean, you're like, "Oh yeah, I got a list of NCOs for you. Here's all my ash and trash." Right.
Oh, man.
And I'm not saying they were all ash and trash, but we got the drunks and all the dudes that would have been RFS today for troop abuse. And like, I mean, they were rough from first and second range. I can still remember their names. I can I can still remember Ian Kaufhold was my first team leader.
Yeah.
We had a guy named Hatfield from First Range Battalion, and he was from the Hatfields and the McCoys. And
Jeez.
yeah, they came in.
How many guys were with you in that class?
So
You
the
remember?
first year that I was in 375, I don't want to exaggerate numbers, but I would tell you that 700 privates came and left in the first year. Came in, made it through RIP, and then, a month in, 2 months in, quit.
Holy
And then
crap.
they ended up on. I remember my first platoon sergeant's name was Sergeant Getz. He was a Vietnam vet, E7, Vietnam Marine Corps vet. And back then, they didn't let Army couldn't wear if you were a prior Marine Vietnam, you didn't get to wear a Marine Corps combat patch or a CIB. All of my leadership, E7 and above, were all Vietnam vets. First Sergeant Joe Heckert. I remember all those guys. I was 17. It made such an impact on me. Like, I still
Yeah.
remember them. My first battalion commander, William C. Old III, just passed away about a month ago. And I mean, God, I could talk to you guys for hours about the impact that it had on me. I went to Third Ranger Battalion in 2018 and spoke at their ball when Mike Klepper was there as a battalion commander with
Yeah.
Johnston, because they were doing a legacy thing. And so I'm a plank holder from 375. But those guys came in, and yeah, they were tough. I mean, they were the Army would call them today toxic. I felt like I was in a fraternity and I was joining a brotherhood. I didn't feel like it was toxic. I never felt like I was abused. Like, to be honest with
We,
you, I felt like, game on, Shields,
yeah,
we're going to smoke your ass. I was like, you can't smoke me.
yeah. Were you in pretty good shape though? I mean, were you
Oh,
like,
yeah, yeah.
was there anything there that was like, fuck, this is hard? Like, it was
No,
just,
yeah. The running, back in the 80s, good Rangers could run. Like you could be an alcoholic, you can beat your wife. Okay. You might have an ND in the barracks, but that some bitch can run. So, so I remember like I was just kind of in the middle of the pack, and I found out really quickly that you weren't going to get a chance to go to Ranger School, get your tab, and you were a nobody if you didn't have a tab unless you could run. And so I was 17, I turned 18, and I just was like, I'm going to commit myself to getting in shape. And I got in really good shape. And I went from the middle of the pack to the front of the pack. And then I got a chance to go to Ranger School before most of my peers did. And
mhm.
so I went from E3. I graduated Ranger School November 1985, and I pinned on Sergeant February 1986. So 90
Yes.
days.
Did you go
Yeah,
straight through Ranger School? Was it straight
I
through, or
did.
did you? Nice.
Yeah, I did. But I had
Yeah.
been to all the phases
Was
with
that did
375.
they have desert phase back then?
Oh
That's right. I
yeah.
had not been I did go to desert. I was first class to go to Dugway. Listen,
Yeah.
I was a chaplain at 6 Rangers Range Battalion, and they talk about they do like risk analysis, and I'm like, you candy asses. Like when I
Yeah.
went to Ranger School, we in-flight rigged twice. Ranger students in-flight rigged twice. I was like, I don't want. I was in the Dugway, Utah. It snowed knee deep one night, and there was no Gore-Tex. I had socks on my hands. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I don't know.
I remember
I
leading
have
up.
loved the Army. I have loved. I don't want to cut you off. I'll just tell you that just you kind of as we make our way through this thing. I have I have loved the Army longer. I've been married for 39 years next month. I have known and loved the Army longer than my wife, who I adore.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
No, what I was gonna say is I remember can't remember the name of the book, but it was like a collection of Ranger stories. People that had gone through and advice on Ranger School and stuff like that. That I picked up probably at the PX or something when I was going through OBC, getting ready to go to Ranger School. And some of the stories about going out and doing desert phase, and it always seemed like desert phase was the one where it got people the most with some of the crazy stories as far as. Now, I never saw this one, but I must have read about it in that book rather. People walking up to trees and trying to put coins in trees to get drinks
Oh
out.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I remember being in Florida, and because I went, it was Benning, mountains, desert, and then Florida. And by the time we got to Florida, it was one MRE a day when I went also. And the old guys, the young guys today go, but sir, they had more calories. I'm like, oh yeah, that fills you up.
Hmm.
Remember guys droning, and I saw a guy kind of starting to walk off in the swamp, and I stopped him and I said, hey man, what are you doing? And he said, I want to get one of those pies. He's saying, he's seen a pie floating on top of the water.
nice.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And I remember my ranger buddy, rest of his soul, Larry Rugel. So we started together, we recycled together in mountains, and then we graduated together. Great guy. But we had made it through the first phase of mountains. So when you actually do Mount Yona, and then you go out and you do the first series of sticks, like 2 or 3 days or 4 days, where you basically just walk and walk and walk and walk. And then we came back, and that night, the first night we got back to the barracks, probably 2 o'clock in the morning. I wake up, I gotta go take a leak, and our bunk, he's on the top bunk, I'm on the bottom bunk, and our bunk is right next to where the entrance to the latrines are. So there's the bright light coming out of there, and I wake up, get out of my bed, look, and there's Larry, swear to God, on a knee on his bed doing this number, like this. I look at Larry, I'm like, Larry, what the fuck are you doing, man? He looks over and he's like, Chris, get the fucking patrol base. You're fucking up my head count. I'm like, Larry, do you know where you are right now? And he looks around. No, where am I? I'm like, brother, we're in the barracks. Lay down. It's okay. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, man, I got you. Don't worry. If the RIs come, I got you. Just lay down and go back to sleep, brother. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
exhaustion is real.
anybody that's out there, was Ranger School the same length, or it was longer, or was it the
It was
same as
longer.
it was longer? So
Mhm.
okay,
It was
Yeah,
set.
'cause
I think it was 70 some days when I went because you had uh, like each phase was a little bit shorter, but not enough to make up the distance because we still had to get the Dugway.
no, the thing
nice.
I did like about the idea of the desert phase, and I'm surprised more people didn't heard, but the idea of doing the live fire out there,
Yeah,
that, give and take, I guess, with that, with the pros and cons of people, wandering off. Hell, they got so bad in Florida for us, they literally made us snap link into each other when we're walking through the swamp. That was the
yeah. We
worst
had a
part.
rope, with knots on it. Same thing. Yeah, yeah,
So you graduated Ranger School, and you
mhm,
said you're an E4, right? And
yeah,
then did Ranger Battalion come pick you up? You just do report over
yeah.
there, or like how was it
Well, so I was
reporting?
in battalion. I went
Okay.
from 375. I was an RTO for my PL, and then
Oh,
I got
nice.
sent to Ranger School. My first sergeant's name was Joe Heckard. I still have pictures of him on my phone.
Yeah.
He was a big old African American guy, 2-time Vietnam vet, and he kind of walked a little pigeon-toed inside, and he kind of sombered
Yeah.
when he walked. And every time I'd see him, I'd say, "Hey, first sergeant, when am I going to Ranger School?" And he'd
Yeah.
say, "Stop harassing me, shithead." It's called me by shithead.
Yeah.
And so
What
we
would
went to
what'd you think about I mean, what was the, environment like when you stepped into the battalion? Like, I mean, because I know those guys, man, they're pretty prideful and they're pretty, the standards of standards, high
yeah.
standard there, right? So how was
Yeah.
it when you first stepped in Ranger Battalion?
Yeah. So again, I had nothing to compare it to. So
Yeah.
it's the only Army that I knew. I went from
Yeah.
basic and AIT to airborne straight to 375. And it was the only Army that I knew. And for me, I grew up in a pretty rough home. My father was an over the road truck driver and alcoholic. And, just like in today's standards, like it had been terrible. I'd have been probably in foster care. So there were times when I was first, a couple of months I was in the Army, people were like, this didn't seem to bother you. And I was like, I feel like I'm at a family reunion. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, it didn't. And the camaraderie and here, I'll tell you this. So everyone was coming in, they were coming in, they would quit and they'd leave and they'd go to Panama. One of the biggest impacts that happened to me it was like January 1985 and it's cold. You know how Fort Benning can get in January.
Mhm.
Fort Benning can get cold. It's a wet cold. There's this pre-Gore-Tex days, and we were trying to get ready. Back then, you had a thing called an RTEP, and so we were trying to get ready for our RTEP to get qualified to be, go in the rotation. And so we were in the field Monday through Thursday night every week. Every week, you come in on Monday morning, you do PT. We either jump or road march or helo into the field. And you do ambush raid recon, patrol base activities, ambush raid recon, and you just do it over and over and over. And so it's a regular week in January. It's been raining from the day that we got in, soaking wet. It's like Wednesday by now. It's like Wednesday, and you're just soaked to the bone. You have nothing that's dry, and we're laying in a patrol base at like 3 a.m, pulling security, and you can see your breath, and you're shivering uncontrollably. And I remember saying, and I said, I've told this story. I tell this story in my resiliency talk, and I told this story at West Point.
Mhm.
And I remember saying, I'm quitting. I'm leaving battalion when the sun comes up. There was no, are you sure, Ranger? It's like ringing a bell.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm done. The sun comes up, I'm done. Because everyone at that time was going to Panama. And all I could think about was, I had a buddy named Randall, and he had quit, he'd gone to Panama. All I could think about was, Randall is in a bed right now in Panama, and it's by the ocean, and it's warm. And I'm freezing my ass off, getting mistreated. And so I laid there, and I'm like, no one cares about me. I'm just another cog in the wheel. And I'm like, when that sun comes up, I'm done.
Yeah.
And so, of course, we're at 100% stand to. The sun comes up, and I'm all ready to tell my squad leader, "Hey, I'm done with this crap." And I hear this like sound coming through the woods, and it's an old army jeep, and you can hear this rattling. And I look out there, and there's my first sergeant, Joe Heckard, and he's in an old army jeep, and it's packed full of old army Mermite cans, and it's got coffee and chicken noodle soup. And we go totally admin for like 45 minutes, and everyone got a cup like this big of coffee and a cup that big of chicken noodle soup that was pretty warm. And I remember standing in a circle with my buddies, and I said out loud, "Man, First Sergeant cares about us." And they're like, "Damn straight he does. He cares about his Rangers." And I thought, I bet the First Sergeant in Panama doesn't care about his soldiers.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not going anywhere. And that was a turning point in my life. I mean, who knows where I would have ended up or been. And
Yeah.
I wish I would have told Joe. I saw Joe Heckard at the 50th anniversary of 6RTB when I was a chaplain there 10 years ago, 15 years ago now, 16, 17, a long time ago. I saw him before he passed away. I wish I would have told him that. I wish, because to this day, I remember that. I remember it like it was yesterday. That was one of those defining moments for me in my Army career where I almost made a decision that would have changed my trajectory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we tell a lot of leaders that too. Like, sometimes you might not think that you're making an impact on one of these young kids. Like, it could be a simple conversation, in the field during some serious suck fest, right? And like, as a CSM, like go down and sit down next to a guy and just have a good conversation with them and stuff like that. That little things like that make a difference, man. People just don't realize it.
It's there. You can't. I mean, the old adage we say, no one knows how much you know than how much you care.
Yeah.
I will tell you that both good and bad. Like, we all remember a time when we got an ass chewing from someone, and we remember that moment. And if we found that person that did it, and we told them about it, they probably don't remember.
Yeah.
Because it didn't impact them, right? But we remember.
Yep.
The opposite of that is also true, which is when someone is having a crappy day and you just show some kindness, they may not ever remember what you said, but they'll remember what you did.
Yep.
And to me, that's the difference in leadership. My son went to West Point. He graduated West Point, went straight to Ranger School. My son graduated Ranger School 35 years to the day that I graduated. He got my original tab.
Oh, wow.
And went to the 82nd, and he had unsatisfactory leadership from the get-go. His company commander was toxic. He's out of the Army now. His battalion commander was thought that he was the next Patton or something. I don't know. He did 5 years. My son was like, he was there about 15 months, and he said, I was at third group at the time, and he was like, "Hey man, like I'm 5 and fly. I'm out."
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, man, you got to you got to go command a company." And he's like, "No, man." He was like, "I've seen enough of the Army to know that I'm not giving the best years of my life to this."
Yeah.
He said, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
And that's too bad, right?
Yeah.
And that's just one example, because there's a ton of other guys that go there and they have great leaders and they stay in and they do great things. I mean, we are, right? I'm having I'm having these moments, or I have these moments where I'm by myself where I'm like, God, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm
the same way. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool that your son's got, he's got like a guy you can call, like, especially a high caliber guy like you, Charlie, to give him advice and stuff. Like that's kind of like a cheat code.
Listen, he lived at our house because he went to West. My daughter used my GI Bill to get her bachelor's and master's. So my son went to West Point, and then and I was at Bragg at the time when he got the 82nd. And I said, "Hey, you're going to live with us for a year." He was like, "I am a grown ass man." And I said, "No, listen to me. We didn't pay for your college. You're going to live with us, and then you're going to invest your BAH for a year. That's a little way that we can help pay you back. You don't got to pay. You don't got to buy groceries." And he didn't. You don't got to do anything, right? I was like, "Hey, the refrigerator swings both ways, bro."
Yeah.
And he did that. But sometimes I could sit and overhear conversations that his command team would call him with, right in the front end. And I didn't get involved. I'm not a helicopter parent. I'm not a lawnmower parent. Mow down your kids' stuff, That's not I wasn't going to do that. I figured it out. he's got to figure it out. Other day, I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's a command sergeant major in the Army, or he's a sergeant major in the Army. And I won't give too many details. I don't even want to know who it is because if you know me, you might know who you put it together. But
Yeah.
his daughter was in basic training, and he had typed up this letter, and he was going to send it off to the command team in reference to how he felt like the drill sergeant was being unprofessional.
Mhm.
And I said, dude, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You got to delete that. You got to let your daughter. I said, has he done something illegal, immoral, unethical? Has he put his hands on her? Has there been any sexual harassment or anything? He goes, no, I just think he's been unprofessional. I said, you think that he's the first unprofessional or the only unprofessional leader she's ever going to have? She's just the first one.
Yeah.
Let her figure it out.
Yeah.
So
I
he's
can
like,
relate,
"All right."
Charlie. I can relate, Charlie, because my kid's a Marine, right? So
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
been through some ups and downs too, man. And I'm just like, I want to like reach through the phone and be like, grab a sergeant major by the throat. Be like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? But I can't, like you said, I can't do that. Like he's got to
Right.
learn. He's got to figure this out on his own, man. But it's definitely hard. It's like,
Yeah.
especially when, and I've been around some really high caliber people, leaders in my career. So it's like when I hear that, I get kind of frustrated with it. So that's
Yeah.
good. Tell him you just got to figure it out, man. Got to figure it out. So
So,
Yeah.
Charlie, the part that comes back to me, right, is actually about your son, right? So, had a similar trajectory, we'll say, with my initial career, in that, and I mentioned this to some people here because I'm about a year out from retirement, so I'm starting to do a lot of self-reflecting, and then talking with Jerry on the podcast and stuff. You start to think about the old times. And the thing that pops into my mind is I guess I'm sadistic because I was that guy that I can't remember, and I really don't want to say ranks or positions or anything like that. We'll just say my first initial leaders, and you can intuit however long or short that is, were the definition of either toxic or incompetent.
Yeah.
And looking back, it was one of those where maybe a more sane man or a different person would have been like your son and said, you know what, fuck that. Like, I don't. Why am I putting up with this? I mean, being cursed at, right? And it's I didn't grow up in a toxic family or anything like that, thank God. But it was I being cursed at was not a new thing for me. But being called a piece of shit in public as an officer, that was.
Yeah.
Instead, now granted, I was, thank God, I will say, Lieutenant General retired Jones, Omar Jones, he retired out of MCOM as the MCOM commander, was a mentor of mine at that point. And he talked me off a ledge because I was about to go.
His son was my son's classmate and Ranger School classmate, Ben Jones.
Oh, no shit. Okay. Small
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Lieutenant General Jones talked me off a ledge because I was about to go toe to toe with that senior officer. And I told him, I was like, sir, if he expects me to sign counseling for this, and I did absolutely nothing wrong, and he called me a piece of shit and all this other stuff in front of public and God and country, then I'm done. I don't care about my career. I just want satisfaction of kicking his ass.
Yeah.
Chris,
Yeah.
just hold on. Just give me a minute. Let me see if I can do some stuff. Okay, sure.
Nice.
But aside from him, I feel your son. I do. But my question, I guess, is while your path may have been slightly different, still kind of a similar in the sense that like you were getting it pretty good there in Regiment. And kind of turning the other cheek and grinning and saying, yeah, this is kind of like family reunion, your words. That grit, right? That stick-to-itiveness. And I don't mean to say that derogatorily to your son, but what made you say, you know what? Besides, I mean, you had that great first sergeant. Say, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna fucking do this.
Well, I think for me also, Chris, is that joining the Army was also a way out for me. I looked at my family life. I looked at I looked at what my opportunities were where I was at, and I didn't want that. I didn't want to become my dad, and God rest his soul. But I didn't want to become my dad. I didn't want to become what was there. I wanted to do something. Um, I mean, I wanted to be a soldier, and I didn't have a safety net. There was no there was no plan B for me. Had I had a plan B, I might have done three and got out too. And
Yeah.
so I never felt like I had a plan B. When I graduated Ranger School, I had nobody there. I didn't receive a single piece of mail in Ranger School. I'm not saying this boo-hooing, but I didn't get any letters in Ranger School. I remember at one point we had tax that went with us all the way through, and they would pass out the mail. And I remember this tax name was Sergeant Lopez, and I remember him saying to me, "Hey Shields, you haven't gotten a single letter." I said, "No one knows that I'm here." He's like,
Jeez.
"You ain't got any family?" And I said, "I mean, I not really." And on graduation day, I wasn't hurt by it. I wasn't like, oh, I got no one that cares. I wasn't hurt by it. It was just normal for me. And so on graduation day, on November 13th, 1985, we were out in Todd Field, and they jumped the Ranger tabs in, and all the wives and girlfriends and parents came out and they're pinning tabs on. And I'm standing there. I got my Ranger tab in my hand. I'm just kind of standing there. I mean, it didn't bother me any. My squad leader, my first sergeant walked up. My first sergeant said, "Who's pinning your tab on you, shithead?" And I said, "I guess you are, first sergeant." And he pinned my Ranger tab on me. And then he said to me, he said, "You gonna be like all these other candy asses and take some time off, or you gonna jump into the field with us on Monday?" And I said, "I got nowhere else to go, first sergeant." And my squad leader said, "If you do this," he said, he said, "you'll be an E5 in 90 days." And so listen, one MRE a day. Ranger school still messes up my food. I still can't go anywhere without food. I jumped today. I was airborne commander today for our jump today. I had a cooler full of food and water, and I give most of it away at the end, but I always save a little back because you don't know what's gonna go.
Yeah.
And so we jumped into the field that following Monday, and I had an ammo can in my rucksack. I was an RTO, but I didn't have to be the RTO anymore because now I got a Ranger tab. I had a Ranger tab and EIB instead of jump wings. I was a PFC.
Nice.
And we stopped and sitting in a patrol base, and I was in a rucksack flop, and I reached inside my ruck and I pulled that ammo can out and I set it in front of me and I opened it up, and I had three little personal pan pizzas and sleeves of Oreo cookies. And I'm eating some pizza and I'm eating the cookies. And there were some kids that had graduated RIP since I was gone that were there, and they're pulling security. One of them said to my squad leader, he said, "Hey, why does that guy get to sit in a rucksack flop and eat in the patrol base?" And my squad leader said, "Because he's got a mother effing Ranger tab. That's why." And listen, I was sitting there and I thought to myself, man, I have arrived.
Yeah.
No. So the
That's
grit,
dope, man. Graduating in the field the next Monday. That's crazy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was, I didn't, I had no plan B. I didn't have anything else to fall back on. And coming back to my son, when he went to West Point, we tried to get him to do kinesiology because he's always been an interest in medicine.
Yeah.
And he starts Goucher, the post baccalaureate med school link program. He starts it next Wednesday. We moved him up here to
Nice.
Townsend, Maryland 2 weeks ago. And, he's on his path to being an ER doctor. I said, "You want to do it in the Army?" And he was like, "No."
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
No, I
right
wouldn't
next
either.
door to me. I'm up in Maryland.
Hey Charlie, can you tell the people out there, like, traditionally, how long does a young, like, E4 and below stay in regiment before they have to, like, get their Ranger tab? Do they, like, is there a time frame? Do you have, like, a backstop for, like, hey, I got to get a Ranger tab before this, or I'm going to the 82nd? You know?
Well, so I haven't been in. I mean, it's always. I'm sure it's always changing. I don't. I'll tell you that if you're an 11 Bravo, you're not going to go beyond E4 without a tab.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's some unique. I mean, maybe if you get wounded in combat or something, and they're keeping you around, you're not going to go beyond E4 if you without a
Mhm.
tab. If you are support and you have a specialty of some type, you might get to. I had a guy that I was in long range recon with back in the 80s, and his son was I want to say he was some type of specialty signal. It wasn't signal, it was something else, some crypto or something. Anyway, but he went to first range battalion, but he didn't want to go to ranger school. And so, but he was really good and he had a really unique specialty. and they wouldn't promote him to E5 because he didn't have a tab. So he was going to reenlist to go to SOAR, and they said, "Hey, what would it take to keep you?" And he said, "I want to get promoted." And so they promoted him and kept him. So he did his
Mm,
entire enlistment in 175 without a tab. But that's
wow.
unusual. It's unusual. You're treated. I mean, you're treated like a second class citizen until you put a tab over your scroll. The
Mhm.
regiment guys hate on the guys that call themselves Rangers that don't have scrolls. You went to Ranger school. The scroll is a way of life. The tab is a school. But
Yeah.
let me be honest. Let's be honest. You're not a full fledged voting member unless you have a tab sitting above your scroll.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always that. Hey, man, I'm a ranger qualified, but I'm not an airborne ranger, right? Like, is that
Yeah.
that's like I always
Yeah.
hear that. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's like, I gotta go.
I'll tell you, man. I've never been a ranger regiment, but my impression of those guys. I mean, served work with them a little bit and overseas and stuff, and they've always been just professional. Like
Oh,
all the
dude.
special forces guys. Like I give props to all the Delta and SEALs and all those guys, but man, boy, Ranger Regiment's it's a lethal organization with just nothing but professionals, man. Because
Listen, dude. If the army were all animals, Ranger Regiment's just all Belgian Malinois. All
yeah,
they are is they're just meat missiles, man.
yeah,
They
I tell you
run, they
though
lift,
too.
and they shoot.
I tell you, Charlie, I sat in two or three of these promotion boards at HRC, and not just that they were just badasses, but they were also administratively badass too, because we were reading through their NCOERs and stuff, man. And I would tell you that my last board, they probably had the best NCOERs I've ever seen
That's awesome.
across the Army, right? Just because how they, all the stuff that they knew how to write them, their NCOs took time to. You can tell when
Yeah.
people are looking at them, and you can tell people are like leaders are taking opportunity to like check on their guys. And I was like, man, Ranger Regiment's got it going on, man. They're pretty good at this stuff, not just
But they're supposed to leave. Abrams'
yeah,
charter, which is what started Regiment, was to try to fix the post-Vietnam 1970s shit show the Army was in. And it was supposed to be you come there, you get this specialized training, this emphasis on physical fitness, this professionalism, this skill set. You go out in the Army, and like a plug of grass, you make this field healthy, and then you come back and get some more, and then you go back out. And it kind of became, an incestuous organization that you could stay there for 20 years. I mean, I know guys that went from private to E9 and never left.
yeah. But it's also, I think nowadays you have to challenge. You have to. I think there's only so many. There's only so many first sergeants. There's only so many platoon
Yeah.
sergeants. Like you have
You
to
remember Mike
compete.
Elliott?
Yeah,
Yeah, Mike went from E1 to E8 and 375, but he
yeah,
couldn't get a company, so he came in 10th Mountain Division.
yeah. You got to be pretty badass though to stay in Ranger Battalion for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long? So how long were you in Ranger Battalion for? And when you
I
first?
was only
Then,
I was only there for like 2.5 years,
yeah.
and then I reenlisted to go to the Army. Stood up the brand new post Vietnam long range surveillance
Mm,
reconnaissance, right, LRS. Um,
yep.
and so I went to Echo 51st as a plank holder for it, and then I was in the first RSLIC class in 1986, and then I was a LRS team leader for 3 years, and then that's where I met my wife. I will
Nice.
tell you, of all the jobs I've had in the Army, that's the best job I ever had.
Yeah. I kind of
There's
I kind of
nothing
wish
like
they'd
it.
bring those back.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
like I think they're added value, man. I mean, they're
5-man
not.
LRS team doing missions in East Germany when the wall was still up. 5 enlisted dudes. E6 is the highest ranking guy. No officers, no voice comms. Everything was done through encryption. Two combo windows every 24 hours. I mean, I think how risk averse the Army. Today we were jumping today. We're jumping, and so today that we were jumping Marine. I wore this for you, Sergeant Major. Marine Corps
Yes.
Marathon. Right.
Heck yeah.
All right. So today we were jumping C-130 Marine Corps crew out of Cherry Point. I love jumping with the Marines. They're always. I mean, I'll jump anything anyway, but those guys are all awesome, great. So we're going through our JM rehearsals and everything, and one of my guys was like, "Hey, we need to get some duct tape and put an arrow on the ramp." And I said, "We're not putting an arrow on the ramp. We just need to make sure they know where to go." And I was like, "Look here, you have become so mother frickin' risk averse.
We are.
That's what rehearsals are for.
Yeah.
And then guess what? They're going to do what the first guy does, who's a jump master. We're not
Mhm.
putting tape on the ramp of this C-130 today. We're going to be just fine." I mean, we've gotten to the point where we have no tolerance for mistakes or no tolerance for for risk. And I mean, I I don't want us to be negligent. I don't think we should be like reckless, but at the same time, daggone, man, you know, when I think about an American soldier, I want to think about someone who's tough and
Hmm.
not afraid to do hard things. My son-in-law was a 64 pilot. Now he's an AI officer, and he was just here this weekend. He and my daughter just went on vacation, and his brother just graduated from law school, and so he was here visiting as well. And my son-in-law was a first generation anything military. He was a classmate with my son. He's a big kid. He's Polish. He's like 6'3" and like he's freaking huge. His brother-in-law was here, and he asked a question about about soldiers, and are all some soldiers, they all think that they're all like tough or whatever. And I said, well, let me ask you something. I said, you ever been punched in the face? And he said, no. He's 30 years old. He's about 30. I said, you've never been punched in the face once, right? He said, no. I said, every soldier has been punched in the face
Yeah.
and punched someone else in the face. We do it for training.
Yeah.
I said, so you're right. They're not all John Wick, but
Yeah.
most of them will whip your ass.
Yeah. It affects the decision making process too, man. Commanders make bad decisions off that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
come on, man. Gotta take a little risk, So
Yeah. Yeah.
we're in a profession of arms, man. It's not all bubble wrap and band-aids,
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I like it. I like taking, Now, I mean, I've taken some, I'm just a
Yeah.
chaplain now, but I'm a, I've been airborne commander a bunch here. And I mean, there was been once or twice where I've been like, God, I hope that doesn't go bad. Cause if it does, I can hear my Gomar being read right now. You wanton disregard your decades of experience. What were you thinking? I was like,
Yeah.
when it's done, I was like, all right, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Lurs is awesome, man. Like I don't know. Like I said, I wish they bring it back though. So
We have the
Where-
school.
where were you at? I might have missed it. Where'd you say you were at at Lurs or?
Echo 51st, Echo Company 51st Lurs in started off in Wiesbaden, Germany, as
Okay.
part of Fifth Corps. So you had Echo and Foxtrot were in Europe. So Echo was Fifth Corps and Foxtrot was Seventh Corps, and so two core assets. And I'm telling you, listen, that group of weirdos there's such a camaraderie there. They get together every year in June in Branson, Missouri, and anyone that's ever served in LURS in any way, shape, or form, Vietnam forward, they all come together at these two hotels in Branson, Missouri for a weekend. And I go about I've gone like 3 years apart. I was there last year. And it's just a brotherhood and camaraderie of just a bunch of old souls. Whether you did 3 years or 33 years, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Did you guys you had scrolls, right? Did you guys wear scrolls or was that
No,
patch or?
we were we were a LURS company assigned to 165th MI because LURS
Yep.
is an intelligence, right?
Mhm.
So we wore the 165 MI patch.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
Now
you
they
have
do
to-
scrolls. Everybody makes some kind of scroll now, but we
Yeah,
didn't
no,
wear
I
scrolls.
just thinking, I forgot about the MI patch because I remember I was somebody might was thinking of some old scroll for Lurs or something. But
Yeah.
did you guys have to go through a selection for that, or did you just how were you selected to go to that?
We mostly got RIP failures and RFS. They were all a bunch of drunks and bar fighters that got thrown out of something else. I mean, they were a band of misfits but man, they were good kids. I'm friends with my whole team still.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The
I don't
company
know, man.
commander, our company commander's name was Steve Powell, and he is like the granddaddy of the association. He's a former Green Beret also, and I mean, we're all friends. We all talk. We all share, life stuff with each other, and yeah. But it's just a great time.
Was it all static line, or did you guys do anything else before that, or is it all static
No, it
line?
was static line. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I don't know, man.
Did you meet your wife there?
I did. She was a medic. She was on this. If you can believe this, if this is God's smiling providence, right? We all, if we're blessed by the Lord, we marry up, right? My
Oh, yeah.
wife was on a 2-year enlistment and got sent to Germany. Like that's fraud, waste, and abuse, right? 2-year enlistment. She had just gotten to the organization. I had just gotten hurt training with the Danish Jaegers. I'd gotten frostbite I was up in Denmark training with the Jaegers. So I had to go back to Germany to rehab. And she was in the mess hall. She was a private. I was an NCO. And I saw her. And she didn't, I was in civilian clothes. And I thought, man, that girl is so pretty. I'm going to ask her out. And so she agreed to go out with me. And then she found out later that I was a sergeant. She tried to break it off. And I was like, hey, we're not in the same food chain. It's okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Were you like
So,
a crazy guy outside of work, or were you kind of like
um,
pretty mellow dude, or like were you?
no, I was not mellow. I was, I was a 21-year-old staff sergeant who thought that I could whip anybody. So
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, not mellow.
Especially being you're in Germany, right? So
Yeah,
oof,
yeah,
kind of crazy.
that's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you did LERS time, right? Was
Yeah.
that the rest of your enlistment, or did you?
Nope. I went to be a drill sergeant.
Hmm,
Of all things, I was an infantry drill sergeant for military police, and
wow.
about 10 of the MPs that were also drill sergeants with me had arrested me at one point or another in my career.
Well, that answered the
Because
question
back,
beforehand.
yeah, you
Yeah,
got back then it just was. I mean, the MPs, every MP station had its own jail, and they
yeah,
just arrested you and then turn you over to your chain of command. And hell, my first sergeant half the time was in the cell right next to me, and the company commander had to come get both of us,
yeah.
for fighting usually. And so I was a drill sergeant at Fort McClellan, Alabama, for MPs for 2 years. That's where I came to faith in Christ, actually, because
Yeah.
it was Alabama. And my wife and I got invited to church and heard the gospel. And at the end of my enlistment, I couldn't decide whether I wanted to re-enlist to try to go back to. I always want to be a platoon sergeant in First Ranger Battalion, and so I thought I want to go back to 175. And I just sensed that God was leading me to do something different. So I got out. My wife had finished college, so I got out and I went to school, and then I did 12 years of school. I did a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctorate degree, all
Wow.
in theology,
Mm,
and was pastoring a church and teaching. And my best friend in life, I've known him longer than my wife. We talk every single day. Was Harold Hance. Harold retired as the CSM at 175.
mm.
They call him Triple H, and they had just come back from the Jessica Lynch rescue when he
Wow.
was a CSM there, and he started like, hey man, you need to come back in the Army as a chaplain. And a few years later, I met the chief of chaplains named Doug Carver and had a conversation with him, and 90 days after that, I was in the Army as a chaplain. And
Gee.
I've had the best rides. I mean, I've had the best assignments.
Can I go back to like the drill sergeant thing,
Me
Charlie?
too.
Did you have a hard time transitioning into that kind of world? Like, because you were in LERS and you were in Ranger Regiment, and now you're like in drill sergeant land with soft the low day. I don't know, man. Like it's a different
Yeah.
world. Did you have a hard time with that, or?
Well, all right. So I'll tell you how hard time I had with that. So let's go back to my first sergeant, Joe Heckard, Vietnam vet.
Yeah,
I got in trouble on the trail.
yeah,
Um, I got in pretty big trouble, and I got command referred to psych.
mm,
And the key thing when you're on the trail then was that if you got fired before your 2 years were up, they call it taking your hat from you and your
yeah,
pumpkin. And no one wants that. It's disgrace, right? Even if you don't get an Article 15, it's still a disgrace because you didn't finish your tour. And so I was pretty rough. This is all before I came to faith in Christ, but I was pretty rough. And my battalion commander was like, "There's something wrong with you. Um, you got to go talk to psych, and if they don't clear you, you're done."
mm-hmm,
And so I went. I'm sitting in this waiting room, and there was two psychiatrists or psychologists. There was an Army one and a civilian one. The Army one was a captain. The civilian was in civilian clothes. And he walked back and forth by me like 3 or 4 times. There was only like 3 people on all of Fort McClellan, Alabama, had Ranger tabs. And he stopped and he said to me, "Hey, Ranger, what are you doing here?" And I handed him this piece of paper from my battalion commander. And he said, "You been in a Ranger battalion?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Where at?" I said, "Third Ranger Battalion." He said, "Who was your first sergeant?" I said, "Joe Heckard." He said, "Me and Joe Heckard killed a lot of gooks in Vietnam."
jeez,
He says, "Come in my office." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
yeah,
So I go and I sit down there, and he's like, he all he wanted to know about was what was Joe doing and
yeah,
how was he doing. and they had been in Vietnam together in the 101st.
Yeah.
And then he got out and went to school and became a psychologist. And so he said, "All right, tell me why you're here." So I told him, and he started laughing. And he wrote on there, "This." He said, "You've got a meat eater amongst grass eaters. Put this
Yeah.
man back to work."
Yeah.
And he sent it back. And my battalion commander was certain that he was going to take my hat from me that day.
Hmm.
So I walked in there, and I had a big smile on my face. I got, "All right, here you go, sir." And he read it, and he wadded it up, and he goes, "Go back to work," and he threw it away. So yeah. So I had some trouble, but I dialed it back at that point because I was like, "Ooh, I dodged a bullet here." So
Yeah. Oh man.
When were you in McClellan again?
1990 to 1992.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I went to basic training. A little bit after that, 96.
Oh yeah, you were an MP.
Okay. Oh, you were an MP.
Yeah, he was an MP. Enlisted. He was an
All right.
enlisted guy too.
797th. Did they still have 797th when you were there? Seco 797 drill sergeant. Yeah.
There you go. Small world.
Man, I'm honored. I have two prior enlisted officers on here. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but somehow we messed up. I
Yeah.
tell guys all the time. People tell me, and they say, "Hey, my son or my daughter wants to join the army," and I always say, "Well, what do they want to get out of the army?"
Yeah.
They want a professional with this. I tell them, go to school, go to ROTC, or go to the academy. If they, my son just wants to kick, he wants to kick into. I was like, dude, enlist, enlist. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. So you went. Good.
Go ahead, Derek.
So you went to join the chaplain. You went. How long was the schooling for that? Like, how does that work for?
16 weeks. So to be a chaplain in the army, you have to have a bachelor's and a master's, a master of divinity or its equivalent, and then you have to pass everything else that anybody else would pass to get in the army, physical wise. So you can't come in, if you got diabetes or something.
Mhm.
And so you go to your basic course. They call it CHBOIC, Chaplain's Officers Basic Majors Course at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. 16 weeks. And so you go there for 16 weeks, and then you get your first assignment. And by God's grace, again, my first assignment was to USASOC at Fort Bragg. I couldn't believe it. I told him when I came in, I said, "Hey, I want to come in the army." I said, "But I want static line in my hand. I don't care where I go. I just want to be a paratrooper again." I was 42 years old, 2009, 17-year break in service. I'm like, I just said, I just want to be a paratrooper. And what I didn't know was it's not all that easy to get chaplains to jump out of airplanes.
Yeah.
Right. So they were like, "No problem."
Yeah.
And so I come in, I go to my basic course. I graduate in April of 2009. I get to Fort Bragg. I'm in processing. My air NCO's name was Sergeant First Class Morrow. And he says, "We've got an airborne ranger chaplain." I said, "Sir, you want to jump out of airplanes?" I said, "Heck yeah, I do." He said, "I'm in processing day one." He says, "You want to jump today?" And I was like, my pride was like, "Sure, why not?" I didn't think for 1 second. And I said, "I ain't been to CIF yet." He's like, "I got a helmet for you." He goes,
Yeah.
"Come on, let's go." We didn't do no orders. I didn't go to bar. We drive out to St. Mary Greece drop zone. And I'm thinking to myself, God, I hope it's a good idea. Last time I jumped was Best Ranger in 1989 before I went to be a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
So I jumped. I had not jumped in 20 years. So we get to St. Mary and we're jumping the SF-10 Alpha, which is the MC6 parachute and the T10 harness, But I hadn't jumped in 20 years. So I'm watching everyone rig up. I'm like, oh my God, what goes where again? I'm like, I should go back to airborne school. And so I get rigged up. I watch everyone. I get my stuff on. And I said, "Hey, who just graduated from jumpmaster school?" I was like, I wanted someone that was fresh.
Yeah.
Some captain was like, "I did, sir." I said, "Come JMPI me. Give a chap a JMPI."
Yeah.
So JMPI me, this Costa 212 comes in. And I said, "What is that?" They're like, "Sir, you never jumped a Costa?" I said, "Jump one. I've never even seen one."
Yeah.
"Oh, you're going to love it." No one told me anything about no handles, no toggles, We go up and I jump out and parachute opens up and I got a good parachute. The MC6 parachute's got an 11 knot forward drift, and you got to turn into the wind to slow it down. I'm just riding like I'm going by people like, why aren't they moving? They're all facing into the wind and I'm just hawking across the drop zone. I see the ground coming in and I'm like, oh my God, I'm running with the wind. I'm probably doing like 20 miles an hour. I'm like, I cannot believe how fast the ground is moving. I don't remember the ground moving this fast. And everything in Regiment, was nighttime anyway, T10.
Yeah.
I hit the ground. I hit feet head. I didn't even hit my ass, just feet head. I pack everything up. I'm laying there. I got a brand new set of Jumpmaster glasses on. They're up there. I thought I lost them. They're on the back of my head. That's how hard I hit. I rotated
Yeah.
my glasses under my helmet.
Jeez, dude.
So I come in, and they're like, "Hey, how was it? How was it?" And you don't want to go, "Oh, it was terrible," And you're brand new chaplain, you got. I was like, "Oh, it was awesome. It was everything. I've been missing this." I get home that night and I get ready to go to bed. I have to hold my ears to lay down on the pillow. I got whiplash so bad, like I'm having trouble getting my head up. My wife said, "What are you going to tell them at work tomorrow?" I said, "Man, I don't know." I said, "I'm just going to kind of walk around like this all day because I couldn't hold my head up."
Yeah.
Oh.
I wonder what the percentage of Ranger qualified chaplains are. Because I've been in the Army for 30 years and I think I've probably seen 3.
It's
Like,
not a
including
lot.
yourself.
Yeah, it's not. Most of us are prior service.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on that note, a buddy of mine told me to tell you said hello. Rick Winchester.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Chaplain Winchester. That's awesome.
He was my
good.
battle buddy in ILE.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. What year was that?
Golly. What, 2011?
Okay.
20, yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
He helped me a lot.
Yeah.
You talk about God's grace kind of shining on you every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in a bad spot in a bad way when I was there, and yeah, he helped me out a lot. He told me to tell you he said hello.
Well, that's awesome. That's great. I'll tell you what, I went to ILE. I didn't help anybody. They all helped me. 'Cause
Well,
I was like, oh, what? I couldn't spell MDMP. What are you talking about?
that was a trade-off. He made me promise that I would help him with all his tactics and operation stuff, and in return, we would go play golf after class there at the golf course.
Yeah.
We'd walk 9 holes together, and he'd counsel me.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
And there's nothing better than having a chaplain that gets into the mix, man. I'm telling you, it's just like when the boys see that, like the chaplain's in there doing things with them, like, because unfortunately I've had some run-ins. So you just got to get the chaplain out of the office somehow, or something like that. We got to get the chaplain air assault school, but he just doesn't want to go, kind of thing. But like when you have the chaplain out there just doing stuff like you're doing, Charlie, that just builds. That helps the command team out, one, and then it just builds confidence in the guys, and it's pretty awesome.
I love the Army. I mean, I said today we were, I'm in a position now where I'm mostly just a staff officer. Like I tell them, like, tip of the spear, staff. I'm back here. Okay. And when we get to, I'm still on jump status and had my 167th jump yesterday. And they're my best days. My wife comes home and she's like, "God, you just still love it, don't you?" I said, "Like a kid."
Yeah.
I mean, just like a kid, I love it. When we were in 10th Mountain and they did the EIB, and I'm an ultra runner, so I run a lot. And so, and I didn't have a weapon and I didn't have to wear a helmet, but I did the 12 miler with them around River Ridge up there. And General Menace was at the end, and he was like, I could hear him yelling, like, who doesn't have their weapon? And someone was like, yeah, that's the brigade chaplain, So I came through and I loved Menace, but Menace got mixed reviews, but I loved him. I mean, he was just
definitely into our business.
He was grit, I mean, he was all about killing bad guys. I like
He loved us. He loved us.
Yeah. And so they did the ceremony that day, and I knew a little bit of his backstory. And so I tapped on the microphone. It was real loud, it was windy, I said, "General Menace, you in the stands, sir?" "I'm right here, Ranger buddy." I pointed at my EIB. I said, "Hey, sir, I just want to be clear. My EIB predates yours, and I'm pretty sure so is my Ranger tag. Let's pray." And so, everyone's laughing, and amen. And he doesn't go out to the field. He comes straight to me. He points to my stage and says, "Date." I said, April 1985.
Yeah.
Date. He said, "Date." I said, November 1985. He's like, "All right, I'm going to go put some EIBs on."
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was, Charlie, you mentioned, and I want to give you a little bit of time to talk about this if you don't mind. Was there a tipping point or something along those lines? Because you mentioned, and it was something in how you mentioned it. I can't remember the words exactly. But you're like that's when I came to God.
Yeah.
Um, what
Yeah, it
was that?
was when I got in trouble. When I got in trouble and about lost my hat, I was wrestling with what I call ultimate questions. Who is God? Is he knowable? And how do you have a relationship with him? And I didn't grow up in a Christian home. My wife grew up in somewhat of a nominal Christian home, but she was non-practicing. And so I would come home and I would ask her like a ton of questions. I grew up, I had a stepmom once I was older, but not no real family life at all. My wife grew up in a phenomenal family. I grew to love her dad as much as my own dad, or more than my own father. He passed away when I was an ILE, and her mother's still living. And so I would ask her just a ton of questions, just about like existential questions. Who am I? Why do we exist? Um, I know that I'm not a good person. I, I mean, I'm not. You don't compare yourself to others, right? I mean, I'm not out here like robbing banks, but I know that I'm not. I know I'm not a good person.
That
And she couldn't answer any of the questions, but she was in college at Jacksonville State University. And there was a girl in her class named Monica Boone, and a teacher made it like a derogatory statement about something the Apostle Paul had said in First Corinthians, and this girl broke out her Bible and said, "Actually, that's not what he said." And she read it, and then she told her what it meant. And so my wife was like, "Hey, are you some kind of a preacher or something?" She was like, "No, I just go to a good church that teaches the Bible." And she said, "My husband's been asking me a ton of questions. Can we come to church with you?" And she was like, "We'd love you to come to church with us." So we went to church with her and heard the gospel. And for me, it was, I use the term regeneration. It was a moment where God just resurrected my soul and breathed life into me. And I knew that what I was missing was a relationship with Christ. And my wife, we came home that night and she was like, "Something happened to you at church today. What was it?" I said, "I don't know, but something happened." I didn't know, couldn't explain it. And then the preacher came by. His name was Jim Knight. He came by and he showed the gospel with my wife when I was gone at work, and she had a very similar aspect of coming to faith in Christ, and so we got baptized together and started walking with the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
awesome.
Did you like when you first went into a unit? You said you went in a group first. Like, how were you like prepared as a chaplain to see? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, the stuff that you experienced going in as a chaplain and seeing, I guess, dealing with all the soldiers' issues and stuff. Like, was it just something that was different, or like, how did you approach that? Like being a new chaplain. Like, I
So
guess I don't.
I,
You have like a different
I
style, or how do you have to develop a style or approach, or
so I spent 17 years in between infantry, or in between enlisted and being a chaplain in the army. And in those 17 years, I was going to college and seminary and pastoring small churches. And so God was honing my ability to be a minister in all of that. And my enlisted time honed my ability to be a soldier.
right?
And they just married very well together. So, it's badges. I tell guys all the time, don't chase badges. Badges may open a door initially, but your performance and who you are will determine whether you stay in the room or they're just badges and you're kicked out of the room.
Right.
And there's plenty of people that don't have any badges that are phenomenal chaplains and
Hmm.
soldiers. And there's plenty of folks that got all of them that suck,
Hmm.
right? And so I went to third psyop group first. I was only there for a year, and then I went to Ranger School to be a chaplain at sixth RTB. And I will tell you that I didn't feel like I had to do. I didn't feel like the learning curve was hard at all. The Army
Hmm.
had changed drastically in 17 years. I noticed that. And I was an Army at war, and because it was 2009, so two fronts, and it was an Army at war that was really. I mean, we were dealing with memorials every week,
Right.
but because I was physically fit and I showed up and I liked it. I liked to put a ruck on my back. I liked to go to the range. I liked to jump out of airplanes. I liked to do all the things that soldiers do. So I didn't have to be talked into it. Sometimes I had to be told, "Hey, get out of here," you
Yeah.
know, in a good way. So
Yeah.
that gave me credibility with that. And then all it takes is it's like giving a hungry man bread. All it takes is making an impact for a hurting soldier that impacts them profoundly, and they will tell everybody.
Yeah.
And before you know it, people are coming to see you because they're like, "Hey, I heard that you helped a friend of mine." My daughter, listen to this crazy story. Listen to this. My daughter was teaching elementary school in Korea in 2023 and was out with her boyfriend, then husband now, was a pilot over there. And they were out at some bar in Korea in 2023. And a guy walked up to my daughter and said, "Are you Chaplain Shields' daughter?" There was a soldier in a bar in Korea. She said, "Yeah." And then he said, "Your dad, did this in my life." And she didn't get his name. I don't know who he was.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he knew that that was my daughter. Maybe he had seen her, on the Ranger camp or something. I don't know. But that kind of, for me, that's like, I say that sometimes for the chaplain in the Army, and I don't want this to be misunderstood, but our best days are often your worst day,
Right.
because you come and say, "Hey, sir, if you got a minute," and you got a soldier sitting in your office or in your, wherever you are, and they're just, they become vulnerable with you and they tell you what's going on in their life,
Yeah.
and you just give them. I never feel compelled to fix it. I just feel compelled to give them some hope. Like,
Yeah.
hope is is the most powerful thing that I have to give to someone, is hope. And so I
Yeah.
didn't find it too hard. I went to third PSYOP and then I went to sixth RTB. Listen, my time at sixth RTB was great.
I bet you were
I
out walking.
love, oh, dude, I love those Ranger students. I walked every wet day. I jumped with the students every jump. I loved it. I loved it. I loved being with those students. So listen, my daughter was about 10, I think. Let's see, about 10, I think, 9 or 10. She loved to bake. And so I came home like after the first or second month that I was there, and she said, I was talking about the recycles. And she said, "Daddy, what are recycles?" Because we lived on the Ranger camp. I said, "Recycles are the Ranger students that failed to get enough points to pass to go on and get the Ranger tabs. They got to do it again." And she was like, "Oh, that's got to be hard." I said, "Yeah,
Mhm.
it's hard, but they'll be all right." She's like, "Can I bake them a cupcake?" And I was like, "Girl, no, you're not baking no Ranger students no cupcakes. This Ranger school's supposed to be hard."
Right.
And my wife was like, "Oh, for God's sakes, let her bake them a cupcake." And I was like, "Maybe." So I talked to the command and said, "Hey, my daughter wants to bake the recycles, all the recycles, one cupcake." They're like, "That's fine. She can bake them one cupcake." So it started this tradition. If you recycle Ranger School, my daughter would make these, and the cupcakes grew in size over time, and she'd decorate every one of them differently, and she'd put them on. We'd take them down there in my Jeep and on cookie sheets, and she'd pass these cupcakes out to the recycles on Friday night before the new class came in on Saturday morning. They'd all get a cupcake. And so what happened was that in time, over the years, people would come up to me and they'd say to me, "Hey, sir, you don't remember me, but you were my chaplain in Ranger School, and your daughter gave me a cupcake." And I would say, "Then you were a no-go." And they'd
Mhm.
laugh. All right.
Nice.
So full circle, full circle. Here we go. So I go down to Fort Bragg to jump with my son right before he got out of the Army last year. And he's always like, "Hey, don't be an asshole to my commander just because you guys are the same rank. Like, I don't need," and I never have. But I mean, I always tease him. I'm gonna let him know. I'm gonna let him know. And he's like, "Don't do that. I still work here." He was
Come on, Dad.
he was the HHCXO. He's like, "Come on, man." He's like, "If you're gonna come down, we're gonna jump. Let's just have fun and jump." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay." So I get down there, and his XO, who was pretty good dude, he had a good relationship with his XO. Seth was the HAC XO at the time. He says, we're sitting there talking in the hallway. It's my son and my son's chaplain and me and his XO. And his XO says, he goes, "Hey, sir," he said, "I'm pretty sure you were my chaplain in Ranger School in Florida." I said, "Well, when did you go through?" He said, "I went through in like 2011. I said, "Then I was your chaplain." I said, "I'm just curious. Did you get a cupcake?" And he said, "I did." I said, "Then we both know you were a failure."
Yeah.
Oh,
Were you pretty busy as a chaplain during that period time frame? I mean, I'm sure it was like a lot of people approaching you, like pressure of not graduating, having issues in Ranger school or something. Was it a pretty big? Because I feel like they're
My
so controlled in an environment. Like they don't.
yeah,
I mean, it's
my student my workload was not the students in Ranger School.
yeah,
I wasn't there for the students. I was there for the cadre. Two wars
okay,
going on,
yeah,
and the rotation of gone a year, home a year, gone a year, home a year, and then they get to go be an RI. And for some of them, it was the first time in their entire career where they had 36 months where they weren't deploying.
yeah,
So I began to track this. I began to track that, they come in initially, man, they're excited. They're home. They live on the Ranger camp. They 24 on, 24 off when we're in cycle, and then like 4 day weekend, 4 day weekend, 4 day weekend. But what happened is that after about 8 or 9 months, they get the itch, and there's no deployment coming, and all of a
yeah,
sudden those things you've been burying because you've been ignoring them in your marriage because I'm just going to go away again for 15 months or 12 months. You got to address them. So my real workload came in helping those ranger
yeah.
instructors to work through those issues with their families.
Charlie,
That was where my real work
do you
was.
know Trenton Penny? Trenton Petty.
Mm-mm.
He's the executive director of the Ranger Association.
Yeah.
We had him on here. I think episode 2 or something. He's a buddy of mine, but he does that now. He's there or 3. He does all the best Ranger stuff, but he says the
Okay.
same thing you said. Like he was at his low point during when he was an RI. Like
Yeah.
he was drinking a lot, like
Yep.
all these things. He was just fat. He was all these kind of stuff, but he the Ranger community saved his life, and he'll tell you that every day you see him. But he's roaming around doing all that stuff. He's down here for soft week and stuff, but he's like, dude, I had such a hard time as an RI. Like I just
Yeah.
did. I just struggled. So yeah, I
Yeah.
can see what you're saying with that, man. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But did you have a hard time as a chaplain working with different commands teams like that you fell under? Was there any issues with that? Like, because I feel
No.
like a lot of command teams don't know how to utilize their chaplain. Like I don't sometimes I just don't think they do.
No.
So I mean I don't have I've had great command teams.
Yeah.
I mean they've some have been better than others. Some have had. I mean, it's like anything else, right? I mean, some are better than others, but for the most part, I've had great command teams. But
Yeah.
my personality type is that I've never needed to be told what to do.
Right.
I think some of the command teams don't know how to use their chaplain because they don't know how to use their chaplain, right?
Mhm.
But the
Yeah.
chaplain should be telling the command teams how you use me,
Yeah.
right? If I gotta rely on you, Sergeant Major and Commander, to tell me when they don't know chaplain stuff, they don't know what the value
Mhm.
is.
Just
So
no
my
idea.
job is to show them what is my true value. Be a
Yeah.
combat multiplier.
Yeah.
Sometimes my value is to go serve chow because we're training. I was in NTC as the deputy division chaplain, First Armor Division, and sometimes they're struggling to figure out who's going to serve chow or what. I'll serve chow. You're
Yeah.
the deputy division chaplain. I don't care. I mean, listen, I can't do this and I can't do that, but I can do that. It's if you
Yeah.
just find a way to make yourself a valuable asset. If you find something that you can do that alleviates pressure for others, MDMP. No one wants to hear what I think about what's the best way to protect the organization in a wet gap crossing where there's going to be an NBC attack.
Yeah.
I'd be like, let's not do that, right? But I'll tell you what I can do. I can make sure the coffee pot is never empty.
Yeah.
I can make sure there's ink in the toner in the printer. I can make sure that people that can't go to chow because we're digging into something deep get chow.
Yeah.
You find a way to be value added because once they find out that you're not just looking, that's not my lane, not you'll never hear me say it's not my job,
Yeah.
right? Um, I didn't have any issues with the command teams. I found that most of the time the command teams were just, I think they were relieved that number one, I wasn't weird,
Yeah.
um, right? And,
Yeah.
and I wasn't fat,
Yeah.
right?
And you
Right.
were a doer.
Yeah, and I wasn't causing problems.
Yeah.
I was solving problems for them.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
best chaplain is the chaplain that engages in the formation in such a way that the possible problem never becomes a problem.
Yeah. I think it's like some chaplains, you don't see them until I think, there's got to be, maybe there's some separation between the chaplain and the command team too, because you don't want to walk around looking like you're the spy for the
Right.
commander and sergeant major,
Yeah.
right? But like some chaplains just don't show up until the bad things happen. Like, so the guys are like, oh shit, here comes the chaplain. He's not out there like you, like he's not out there on the jumps or doing PT or
Yeah.
doing all these things. So
It
I
is
don't
in
know.
those places. When I became a supervisory chaplain, when I went to major, I said, and I had a chance to supervise other chaplains. I've said, hey, listen, if I could give you any advice when you say I'm not sure what to do or where to go, I'm not sure what to do with my hands, I'd say, look, get with the S3, look at the training calendar, find out what footprint in your organization is doing the worst thing for that day, and go do it with them.
Yeah.
Tonight, my organization. Tonight, I got some guys on my team tonight. They're gonna do. They're gonna do a 40-miler tonight. It's gonna kick off at midnight.
Hell yeah.
Okay. You know where their chaplain's gonna be at midnight? Right beside them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not that chaplain. Not me. One of my guys. I was just
I was
talking
gonna
to him
say,
like 2 hours
I was
ago.
like, oh.
Yeah. I was just talking to him like 2 hours ago, and
Yeah.
he said, "Hey, sir, I got to get some sleep because I got to be at the start line here." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Hell yeah!" I didn't tell him to do that, but I hired well.
Yeah.
I didn't tell him to do that.
Yeah.
My
think,
leadership style is to hire horses and just keep expanding the fence to let them run.
yeah. I think as a chaplain, it's where you got to be though, because I think that's when guys are. I'm not saying they're most vulnerable, but that's when
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the walls aren't up. And they're not. You can get a little bit some information or see what's really going on with them, man. I don't know.
Rebuild the trust, right?
Build the trust, yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea as a command team when I was in 431, like how to. We had a good Chaplain McGrath. That was his name, right, sir? Was it McGrath? Yeah. He was good. When we came in, he wasn't so good, but when McGrath came in, he was awesome. So he turned into my battle buddy because when we went to, we were doing the closeout of Afghanistan and we did all the HKI stuff, and it was during COVID, and he was like my battle buddy, man, because we could only move around theater with just me and him. Like it was a really restricted movement, but my boss here was stuck on the base, but having him being proactive and stuff, and he was out running with the guys all the time, and even if it was a little bit of like a cigar little thing over at like one of the patios on base and like doing things like that, he was so beneficial, and he knew so much about what was going on with the organization. Like he just was so helpful to me as a sergeant major. So
He was a leader, right? He was a leader.
Yeah.
Leadership comes in all. It's not what branch insignia you have on. Are you a servant leader? Yeah.
So after, so you go to 6 RTB. What happens next?
So I went back to USASOC. I got a chance to go serve at 7th Special Forces Group. They had done a BRAC move from Fort Bragg down to Eglin, so I just moved across the way, and I went to their 4th Battalion. It was the last of the. Remember, whenever the Army was growing, so all the divisions got an extra brigade. Same thing in the groups, the SF groups, they got an extra battalion. So I was the first chaplain for 4th Battalion, 7th Group. And I went there. I had such a great run there. I loved those guys. I deployed twice with them, and did 2 years there. And then I got picked up to go to the 173rd. Went to Italy, 2503. I will tell you that it was hands down. I tell folks the 173rd is a cult, buddy. When I was there, I was Jim Jones.
Yeah.
Right. I made the Kool-Aid, I drank the Kool-Aid, and I'd give you more of the Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah.
2503, the rock, baby.
Yeah, I tell you, man, there's been some incredible leaders that come out of that place too, man.
Unbelievable.
Like,
I had Todd Brown. I had Todd Brown and Mike Klepper. That's what I had.
Yeah.
Two totally different leaders. Look different, talk different, lead different. Both A+.
Yeah.
Exceptional.
It was a combat hardened unit too, man.
Yeah.
For General Brown, that one right up there, but that's my deployment coin from 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
So Todd Brown, General Brown, we're really good friends. He was just here at my house last week. He was over from Korea for some TDY stuff, and he let me know, and I scooped him up. And I mean, I'm just so. But my sergeant majors that I had there, um, one of the first sergeants that became the brigade sergeant major, Matt Carlson, and I,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was
I
he
want
was
to
the
get him on the
HAC
show.
first sergeant. Oh,
Yeah.
Matt and I talk to Matt all the time. Matt's retiring the same day that I retire.
Yeah.
And so Matt was he was the HAC he was the HAC first sergeant. And so I got there, and right when I got there, maybe a week or two after I got there, they had launched up to OAR, Operation Atlantic Resolve, and they'd gone up to the Balkans. And I'm down there hanging out, got to get the family settled, got to get the household goods in, and I was time for me to go up there. And I asked my one, I said, "Hey, what do I need to take with me?" And there, he was like, you just take a light bag, man." He was like, "They're staying in the barracks, they're eating in restaurants." And I was like, "You sure?" I mean, I think they're on like we're on a kind of like a training deployment up there. And he's like, "Oh, dude," it was like I'm talking to them every day. So I didn't take much,
Hmm.
but I launched up there. And the day I get there, the operations sergeant major was like, "Hey, if I call your name off, get over here on this side. And if I call your name over here, get on this side." So I get off on this side. He's like, "All right, you guys get your shit and get in the back of the LMTV." And I was like, "Where are we going?" He was like, "Oh, we're starting the field portion of this deployment today. And you're going to Fob Rock." And I'm like, "I don't have anything to go to Fob Rock
Yeah.
with. I don't even have a sleeping bag. I got a poncho liner."
Yeah.
We go out to Fob Rock. It's Latvia. It's like 35 degrees and rainy. We're in a circus tent, and it's time to rack out. And I just lay down on the floor with a poncho liner. And so we wake up the next morning, and Matt Carlson is sitting. He's sitting on his cot, and he's smoking a vape. He's vaping, and he's just looking at me, and he shakes his head. He's like, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm your new battalion chaplain there, first sergeant." And he's like,
Yeah.
he says, "Where's your shit?" I said, "Well, there's a story behind that." And he's got a Pelican with him. He goes, "Lucky for you, I bring extra of everything." And he gave me he had an extra bivy sack. It was a desert tan bivy sack and some other crap. And we became best friends that day. And he's
Yeah.
always like, "Yeah, you're lucky I was there. You'd have died."
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what
Yeah.
years were you there again?
14 to 16.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's so. We shared a lot of the same dirt. I was in 2CR at that time.
Okay.
I did my S3XO time, right? So we were trading off with y'all a lot with that OAR stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And then we
yeah.
went up to Ukraine. Todd and Mike Klepper did their change of command in Ukraine,
I think I remember
in
hearing that.
Lviv. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. I loved my time there. I loved it. I mean, it was just the relationships and the camaraderie. And I
Yeah.
mean, God, it was just, I mean, jumping in all these different countries and sleeping on the ground again. You know, it was easy for me because I didn't have to carry a radio or weapon system or ammo. We were out we were out in the field once, and Colonel Klepper. I was always hanging out with them. I was always moving with the command team, and it was raining. It was miserable. We're in Germany training, and I set up a poncho hooch low to the ground, and I'm in a rucksack flop, and I always have a jet bowl with me. I'm sipping coffee. And I can see Mike Klepper's over there. He's got all his team around him, and they're just getting wet. And he just keeps looking over at me. And I ain't nothing I can do, bro. I mean, you call me when
Yeah.
you need me. I
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
coffee for you.
Yeah.
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 Dude, Mike he's an amazing dude person, and just
He is a good person
he's just a good
and
person.
tough. And he's
Yeah,
tough too, man.
I mean, I don't I don't know how he's doing it at his age, man. That guy just moves, and
Yeah.
so yeah, man. I don't know. Did you so you did time in there because paratrooper culture is awesome, right?
Yeah.
And when did you go to 10th Mountain? Was that after that, or was?
Yeah. So I got picked up BZ to Major, and I had not even been to my career course yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I left Italy a year early, and I did, and then I got selected for residential ILE. So I did career course and ILE back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's how 10th Mountain happened. I'm in ILE, and Colonel Brown, Lieutenant, I think maybe he had just made '06, but Colonel Brown calls me. He goes, "Hey man, have they come out and started interviewing yet for assignments?" And I said, "They are this week." And he goes, "Did you get an assignment yet?" I said, "No, I'm interviewing Colonel Bartholomew to go back to the 173rd as a brigade chaplain. He said, no, dude, take 2nd Brigade, 10th Mountain. I was like, dude, nobody wants 2nd Brigade, 10th Mountain. I said, they were here today and they had a luncheon and no one showed up.
Yeah.
He's like, no, man, you got to take 2nd Brigade, 10th Mountain. I said, why would I do that? Because, no one wants to go to Fort Drum, Fort Polk, Fort Bliss.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's like, dude, I'm going to be the brigade commander and we're going to take it back to Afghanistan. And I was like, done. So I go in the next day and I was like, hey, I'd like to go to 2nd Brigade, 10th Mountain. Of course, they're like, oh, here you go.
Oh,
Yeah. So about 6 weeks later, Todd calls me and he goes, dude, you got to cut sling load on 2nd Brigade. 10th Mountain. I said, I don't get to cut sling load on anything. I can't cut sling load on what time supper is tonight, dude. I'm a brand new major. And he's like, let me know how it goes. I said, you son of a gun, what are you doing? He goes, I'm going to be the next RCO. He said, I can't turn that down. And so I go to 10th Mountain. But I will tell you, all said and done, 10th Mountain Division was my 2nd most favorite assignment I've ever had in the Army, to the 173rd.
I liked
loved
it there too.
The climate, the culture, upstate New York, beautiful. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah. Because I got there in 17. I did both brigades. I was an ops in 1st Brigade, Brigade Ops Sergeant Major, and then I went over to 431 and 2nd Brigade. But the soldiers there are different. I mean, it's paratrooper culture, man. It's just amazing. But there's some really tough guys. There's some really tough young kids in 10th Mountain Division, man. Like when you put them out in the snow and stuff, and move through some of that stuff that they got to do, and resiliency wise, and there's some tough.
I still have a thing on my phone. I'll tell people, they'll say, how cold was 10th Mountain? I said, let me show you. I still have a blizzard warning on my phone. We were doing the crawl, walk, run phase in 2020 to go back to JRTC, and it got canceled because of COVID. We were in the field in January 2020. It snowed 30 some inches. It was -14. It's 50-mile-an-hour winds, and we were in the field.
That's when I had just taken command.
In 20. Yeah. It was so freaking cold. I don't remember who our operations sergeant major was. He was a leg ranger. He was a good dude, though. He was a good dude. All the staff was trying to sleep in the staff tent because there's a little bit of heat in there. And he was like, hey, chap, he says, where are you sleeping? I said, I'm sleeping where I'm supposed to, sergeant. He says, you and me, ranger buddy. And we slept our asses on that cold ground with no heat. I remember the first morning that I woke up in there, I thought to myself, my God, I've never been anywhere this cold in all my life.
Yeah.
It was cold.
That was the same for me. So I took command in February 2020. We went out to that mountain peak.
That's right, Mountain Peak.
And then we go out there, and of course, Jerry and I are running around in the TAC trying to figure shit out. And that's when the blizzards started coming, and they shut everything down. They're like, all right, get to shelter. So Jerry and I with the TAC, and I can't remember the company that was with us. Maybe Bravo Company.
I think so. I think it was around Bravo Company's AO.
Yeah, and so we end up there on the FLS in one of those corrugated steel sheds or whatever. And so we were at least out of the elements. But anybody that knows anything, a non-insulated corrugated steel shed is actually colder on the inside than it is on the outside.
Yeah.
And me being a born and raised Florida boy, okay, I don't like cold weather. And the most miserable, I think they shut us down for like 2 or 3 nights, the most miserable 2 to 3 nights. I couldn't wait to get back on the road again and back in the field so I could start moving and warm the hell up. Like I just could not get warm. It was so cold.
I learned some good lessons up there. I learned how you take a Nalgene bottle and put boiling water in it and throw it in your sleeping bag and it stays warm all night. Yeah.
I learned a lot of hard lessons. I learned a lot of hard lessons load management wise, Charlie. Like, trying to, especially as being a leader, man, like you can't let the boys you got to kind of manage that because they'll pack too heavy or they won't bring the right stuff. And they're carrying 100-pound rucks and 6 feet of snow. And how do I utilize FSE to get stuff out to the guys? How do we do this as a team effort? Like that to me, because Menace came up to us one night. He's like, hey man, some of those boys are looking kind of heavy. I was like, Roger that, sir. We got to figure this out. So But yeah, man, it,
I
it
learned
was
how to
like,
wear that Equix. I used to tell the guys all the time, you can't dress like it's February at Fort Benning
yeah,
at February at Fort Drum. You have
hmm,
an Equix. If you'll wear it, it works.
yeah,
It's got 7 layers to it, man. It works.
yeah,
Yeah, I loved it. If it wasn't, I mean, I don't want to speak ill of anybody's home state or anything, but if New York wasn't quite like New York, I could retire in upstate New
yeah.
York.
No,
The
I feel you.
Adirondacks,
I feel you.
so
Yeah, I feel
beautiful.
you. I feel you.
Mm.
Yeah, because I was the same way, man. I spent most of my time in the 82nd, and like I didn't know how to. I would wear like the waffle top here or there, like whatever. Never wore the whole system until I got the drum, and it was like I mean, one, it was comfortable, and I didn't
Yeah.
have a lot of like trust in army equipment, but that stuff, yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely works. And I didn't know how. It's weird. It took me till I was E9 to figure out how to wear all that stuff. So
It took you till you were somewhere cold enough to want to wear all that stuff.
yeah, but it's crazy because the guys would be in the defense, and the snow would come in and just lock you in within two
Yeah.
hours, 3 hours, man. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And then I'd see those poor guys out there just being resilient and tough, and sure they come back to the aid station with cold weather injuries you had, and everybody did, but just so we would. I don't think we've ever been so proud of those soldiers, man, because I mean, they
Yeah.
hear a lot of they were complaining to us, but they were just rucking along, dude. It was
The
awesome.
blue collar battalion. The blue
Yeah,
Yeah.
collar battalion. Yeah.
yeah,
Do you remember Chris Waldron?
yeah. I
He
do.
was the Brigade 3. Chris is finishing up battalion command right now.
Oh, really?
Yes, in
Oh,
10th Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
nice.
forward right now, and he's forward deployed in CENTCOM, but he switches out, I think, in April.
What,
Yeah.
which battalion? I can't remember.
He is Keith Benedict, Golden Dragons. I think he has the Golden Dragons.
So, Jared, I don't know if you got the email Jared or not, probably not. But Jared, did you know Jared Larpenter, Charlie?
I don't think so.
Okay, so he was, at that point in time, he was still in purgatory up on division staff.
Oh, yeah.
He has Sam's planner up there. But post that kind of rotation into summer, they sent Jared down to be our XO, our battalion XO. Long story short, Jared ends up taking his battalion command was 431,
Oh,
and so
that's awesome.
he gives up command in about 3 weeks, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it seems to be a lot of repeat guys up there. It's like the Army's like, hey, they have experience in that, so let's send them back
Yeah.
there. I
Both
would
my
have
boy,
been proud to be the division chaplain there. I'd have been proud to do it.
both my boys are hockey players. That's how I was like, I know I can get 10 Mountain Division. I know I can
Yeah.
go there. Like, I know
Yeah.
there's hockey rinks there. So,
Yeah.
Charlie, did you have was it a different approach to for the 173rd and 10th Mountain Division than as a chaplain there was like SF and group? Is it because they're more senior guys in SF world, I guess? I mean, compared to the young PFC that's in 10th Mountain Division or 173rd.
Man, this won't be popular, what I'm going to tell you right now, but um, I found that I had what I felt like was a far more fulfilling ministry as far as a chaplain goes in conventional army, in
Mhm.
173rd, Ranger School, 10th Mountain Division. The special operations community is fun. It's a fun assignment. It's in many ways it's an easier assignment for me because you typically have a more mature crowd. Um, you have mostly an older. In comparison to the army, it's a little bit more mature, a little bit older. Sometimes the pride of that prevents them from asking for help. Where those privates, those young E5s, 173rd, 10th Mountain, man, they just want help. They don't
Yeah.
care, right?
Yeah.
I was telling someone the other day a funny story about a private came to see me in one of my organizations. Comes in, he's all sheepish, and he's like, "Hey, sir," he said, "What the guys told me to come and see you before I do this." I was like, "Well, what's up?" And he said, "So last night I was drinking a little, and I found some girl on the internet live, and we got naked and we masturbated to each other. And what I didn't know is that she recorded it.
Yeah.
And now she's telling me that if I don't give her $500, that she's gonna send this
Yeah.
video to everybody." And I said, "Have you given her the money?" And he reaches in a pocket. He goes, "No, I have it right here." I said, "Put that money back in your pocket. Do not
Yeah.
give her the money." He's like, "Well,
Yeah.
what if she gives it to sends it out?" And I said, "All right, two things. Number one is this. No one is going to be surprised that a 19-year-old got naked and masturbated to another girl on camera. They're not going to be surprised, and they're not going to care.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, what she's doing is committing a federal crime called
Right.
wire fraud.
Sextortion.
So don't do that, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I got 3 guys in the barracks that are in the same situation. I was like, yeah, put them on, delete the account, and I said, and stop doing that, right?
Yeah.
Go meet someone in person or something, right?
Yeah.
So
Chris,
that kind of ministry for me, like, that's real.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's real. In SF, the problems in the special operations community are usually they're smart, they're a little smarter, so they do bigger things, but there's fewer of them. And so oftentimes, unfortunately, like by the time they get to me, a lot of times it's there's not a lot that I can do. Not
Yeah.
always, right? But I found the ministry in the communities are different in the sense that you have the much younger, immature, more impulsive, but also more usually much quicker and willing to come and talk to you, especially if you've hung out with them and shared some suffering with them,
Yeah.
versus in the special communities.
Yeah.
Mostly what I do in the special communities is I provide a lot of things that are like almost like preventative care. Like I'm going to take 9 couples to a really nice cooking store school around here in a couple weeks, and we're gonna do cooking for communication.
Nice.
And yeah, so
Do they how do they select chaplains to go to those specific units? Is it how do you get to go to that? I mean, I'm sure you got to be a major or senior guy, but
yeah, it's all recruitment.
yeah.
No one, the chaplain corps doesn't really select any of us to come to these units. Like I picked my successor. Now they still got to go through a hiring process,
Right.
and then my team, I get to hire my own team. Man, I've got my team that I have right now. God, they are the hardest time of year that I have is OER time because they're all number one.
Mm-hmm.
They're all there's my they don't need me. I'm a manager.
Yeah.
That's it. Like they don't need
Big
me.
problem
They're
now.
all better than me.
Are they different nominations? Are they all different?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all you have to ask, I guess, specific ones. I guess I don't know if that's a thing, but
No, it doesn't matter. I mean,
no.
they come. Yeah, I don't have any priest, but they're all some form of Christian denomination. But I've got, yeah, they span the spectrum. But they're all phenomenal. I knew I had most of my guys I knew previously. I've got 2 guys here that work for me in 2 other units. I got 2 guys coming in here in a couple weeks. One of them worked for me previously as well. And so a lot of times it's word of mouth, who you know. And then if you have a gap that you can't fill, you reach out to people that you trust and say, "Hey, give me 3 guys that I could talk to." And then it's got to be right timing, right? It's got to be right timing career wise. Um, and then it's got to be the right person because it's like a wedding. It's like a marriage. You
Yeah.
got to, you can have the right guy in the wrong unit, and then they're both miserable. You
Yeah.
want the right guy in the right unit,
Yeah.
and so that's that. I think I do a pretty good job at managing that. And then I just try to coach where I need to coach or can coach. And
Mm.
I've been really blessed. My guys that I have right now, God, all of them are they're just freaking great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you're looking for quality more than you're looking for good
Yeah.
dudes. Like,
Yeah.
I guess not all chaplains are good dudes. I'm proud to say, but
Or you just don't want to, or they're weird,
yeah.
right? They're weird. Like, you're like, that guy's kind of weird, right? You're
Yeah.
like, they don't have to drink a beer with you or run a 50 miler with you. Both of those things kind of help, but they don't got to do that. But they also need to have some emotional intelligence and be able to relate,
Yeah.
right? They need to be able to walk into a room and it not be the E.F. Hutton. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember that commercial, right? But
Yeah.
you don't want the chaplain to walk in the room and everyone stops talking.
Yeah.
Oh no, what's he want? You don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Gotta walk in.
here's the command spy. Don't talk to him. It's going to go straight to Sergeant Major.
Yeah.
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 So
No, that's a good point, right? It's about being the combination of the shared hardships, the getting out there and talking to them because a lot of some people, most of our audience here that are going to listen to this, right? They've served in the military, so they understand when we say that weird chaplain. Um, but yeah, I mean, for anybody that happens to listen to this that's not in the military and doesn't understand what we're saying, I mean, you've got that awkward coworker that comes in, and the minute they walk into the room, everybody just kind of stops. Just like,
Yeah.
oh, Bob's here. Okay, what's up, Bob? I don't know what's going on, right? And yeah, nobody wants to be around that person. And as a person of faith who's trying to help, with our spiritual guidance and trying to help us in that manner, you've got to be able to communicate. You've got to be able to relate with people, and that's not always easy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I would venture to say a lot of people have not had or always had chaplains that could relate.
Yeah. And I realize I mean, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that. Back in the Army, we used to have to make us do the 360 analysis. After about the third time I did that, they never changed,
Mm-hmm.
and but I'm okay with that. I'm a kind of I'm a John Maxwell guy. I don't focus on my weaknesses. If you'll strengthen your strengths, your weaknesses will get stronger too. If you
Yeah.
focus on your weaknesses, your strengths get weaker. And so, I'm the first to tell you that I'm fully aware that I'm not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
But you know what? I know some really good dudes. I know some really good chaplains out there that are not built like me, but are also really good, and they'll meet a need that I can't meet, and I'll meet
Yeah.
a need that they can't meet. And a
Yeah.
good team figures that out, right?
Hmm.
Like I don't need my I don't want my heart doc. I don't care if my heart doctor is a good mechanic or not. I want my
Yeah.
mechanic to be a good mechanic, my heart doctor to be a good heart doctor. So
Yeah.
find the right person for the right fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you as a chaplain deal with some of the things that you hear, Charlie? Like I mean, some of the stuff you probably over your career, some of it's probably really rough stuff. Like the stuff that you don't, I don't know, just bad
Yeah.
shit happen to people. Like how do you like deal with that? Like, you go home every night and you have to think about that, like what this soldier's
Who's the
been through,
chaplain for
something
the
happened
chaplain?
here. Yeah. I don't know. Like,
I have a great marriage. I mean, my wife is she's the rock of Gibraltar for me. Um, she is my, when I talk about couples therapy or marriage coaching, I call it coaching. I talk about what is intimacy. Intimacy, people think that intimacy is sex. Sex is sex. That's not intimacy. It can be.
mm-hmm,
True intimacy is when you have that one person or two people in your life that you can be absolutely vulnerable with and never feel judged and never have it used against you. And in God's providence, we're very blessed if we have that person in our life, and especially if it's our spouse. And for me, it is my wife.
mm-hmm,
And so sometimes when I'm just overwhelmed, and I've been overwhelmed. I've had some stuff that's, I mean, if I start thinking back about some of the stuff that, some of the road you walk, I mean, I've jokingly, when I went to seventh group, I jokingly said to those guys when I left there, I said, "Hey, I want you guys to know that before I came here, I would have told you guys that I've seen it all." I said, "Well, I obviously had not. So congratulations, you've raised the bar for me. It's like being
yeah,
a chaplain on a pirate ship.
yeah,
But it wasn't just done there. Whether it's death or suicide or crimes, um, it's I genuinely believe that our greatest value, our greatest asset in the Army is that we have confidentiality, and it's been taken to the Supreme Court and challenged.
mm-hmm,
And most people don't know this, but our confidentiality is ironclad. There is nothing that I am required to report on,
mm-hmm,
even a crime.
right,
And it doesn't mean that there's not been some things that you wish you could, right? But that confidentiality comes with a burden, and the burden is that it's only as strong and as good as you are at keeping it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And so sometimes I had a commander once that came in to ask me a question about something going on with a soldier. They said, "Hey, I know you know what's going on. What's going on?" And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." He's like, "I know you know." And I said, "Well," I said, "I'll tell you what, I do know, but I can't tell you." And he
Yeah.
said, I know you have confidentiality. And I said, that's not why I can't tell you. You're right. I have confidentiality. I can't tell you. That ain't the real reason I can't tell you. He said, well, what's the real reason? I said, because you need to know that if you ever need to trust me, I will protect your secrets too. And if I won't protect your soldiers' secrets from you, then you have no confidence that I'd protect your secrets from your boss.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, you're right. That's pretty good. So I won't ask
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So how do you deal with it? I deal with it. Um, I've
You
dealt with
run.
it. I've
You run
dealt
a
with
lot.
most. Yeah. I've dealt with it through exercise. I've dealt
Yeah.
with it through, I had an injury. I got injured last fall um, pretty badly, and I had to take 5 months off from running. And I found myself like spiraling. And so I bought a Wahoo trainer and I put my road bike on it and I spent the winter riding. And, but the problem is with that is that I realized that I got to find a better way at deloading because that's become almost like an addiction for me.
Yeah.
And if I don't get it, then I'll find myself spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason I asked that, Charlie, is because all the chaplains I know, they're always put in tough spots, man. You got they got to deal with the memorial ceremonies, or they got to be the duty chaplain that has to do the notification. Like,
Yeah.
that's the right. I mean, it's always like, how do you deal with that kind of thing? That's what just came to my head. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It's
So what's
also I also think too that God, I think that I mean I believe in a calling
mm-hmm.
and I believe in an equipping. And I've got some scars, but for the most part I also believe that God called me and equipped me to do it. And if not me, then who?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So what's next for Charlie?
Um did these die on me? Hold on. Did they
No, we
die
can
on
hear
me?
you. We can
Can you
hear
hear
you.
me? Okay, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
What's next for me? I don't know. Um we put everything in storage in July, and we're going to spend about 6 or 7 months just traveling. We don't owe anything. We don't own anything other than our household goods and two
Mm-hmm.
cars and a big old hairy dog. And so we're going to go. We're going to do a big road trip. We're going to go see some things that we've always wanted to see and haven't seen. I want to see. I want my wife to see Utah, northern Utah. It's beautiful. We're going to go to Idaho. I want to see Yellowstone, Yosemite, the sequoias. My son-in-law's mom and dad live in Portland, Oregon, and we're pretty good friends with them. I'm really blessed to have just a great son-in-law who's got a great family. So we're going to go see his parents out in Portland, and uh, and then try to figure out where we want to live. It's
Yeah.
funny is that my wife and our weekend pastime right now is iPad in hand, and we're both on Zillow,
Yeah.
but we are like schizophrenics. Like she'll send me a house in Florida, St. Petersburg, Florida, is where my best friend lives.
That's right. I'm
And-
in Tampa. I'm
yeah,
my
right
so
dog
next to
lives.
St. Pete.
I may
I'm
be down there by you.
I'm not in Tampa. I'm in Largo, right next to St. Pete. So
Yeah, Largo. I'm looking at houses in
oh,
Largo
it's great. It's amazing.
Something Springs,
Yeah.
Tarpon Springs,
Tarpon
I think.
Springs. Tarpon
Yeah,
Springs. Yeah.
yeah. And then I'm looking up in northern Idaho in the Panhandle and
Okay.
North Carolina, and we're all
Oh,
over the place.
it's beautiful up in northern Idaho there.
Never been. I'm gonna go
Oh,
check it out.
Oh,
So we're just gonna.
do you think you're going to carry on doing what you're doing? Like you're going to go back into doing
I'm
the
gonna do something.
yeah.
I get. I mean, I do genuinely find my greatest joy in helping people, and and I like to do projects in the sense that when I was at the church that we attended when I was in my career course in South Carolina, it's a great church in Columbia. Once a month, the men would get together and we would go do a service project somewhere in a an underprivileged home or community, And I love doing that kind of stuff. I love just helping people, and so we'll figure something out. I got to figure
Yeah.
out where I'm going to live, and then we'll figure something out.
Yeah. Just take your time, Charlie. I kind of rushed my part getting out. Just take your time and like take advantage like of what you were doing before. Just go see stuff and don't settle down too quick, man, because
Yeah.
you don't want to get locked into things and
One
this
of
is
my
different.
sergeant majors, our sergeant major, one of our sergeant majors that retired here. I just saw him this past week at a change of command, and I said, "Hey man, how you doing?" And he said exactly what you just said. He said, "Man," he said I should have taken a break. He said I needed to deload and I didn't.
Yeah.
And he said I feel like I'm. He said I'm making great money, but he said I just felt overwhelmed. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
yeah, it
exactly how
sucks.
I feel right now. Like I'm making great money, got a great job. I'm living in Tampa down here in Florida, but I should have took that little bit of break, and just spend some time with the wife and stuff to kind of
Yeah.
downgrade a little bit because you're still like, I'm fresh coming out of the army. So yeah, just enjoy it for a little bit, man. And don't get, I mean, that's what I would recommend to anybody. Just take some time,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Chris, you're here, you'll be doing this soon too, man.
Oh yeah.
You go 100 miles per hour every day. So
We're blessed with both of our kids are empty nesters, and so I mean they're launched. Son-in-law and daughter, and my son's in school, and so we're gonna. That's the plan. The plan right now is we're just gonna. I'm gonna do Airbnb, VRBO. I'm just gonna wing it. Like
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm
And
jealous.
I think people got to understand too, like, it's not over. Like, your service is over, but like all your friendships are still there. Like,
yeah,
it's everybody. You can still reach out to anybody. Like, I mean,
yeah,
it's still there. I mean, you can still call somebody. They're still around.
yeah,
You're not wearing the suit anymore. So,
yeah.
but some
I
people
get phone
struggle with it.
calls. I get phone calls, text messages. I get people that reach out to me. I mean, multiple times a month that I've served with. I mean, 15, 16 years ago. Sometimes
Yeah,
I have to be coy because I don't want to say I don't remember you. So I'll be
it's
like,
hard.
oh, help me again. Where you at?
Yeah,
At the same time, I'm researching frantically online. Oh yeah, all right, I remember who that is then.
yeah. So you got inducted in the RTB Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
How
Well,
was
that
that?
distinguished member of the board.
Distinguished member of the board. How was that? How was that?
I'm going to tell you, I feel, I mean, good night. It was great.
Yeah,
It was great. There's only two other chaplains, Pat Hash and Jeff Struker. And Pat Hash was the first chaplain at Delta. Pat was
sweet.
the USASOC chaplain when I got to Fort Bragg. He was an '06 USASOC chaplain. He wanted to interview all the new chaplains. He called me up, and he's been long retired now. He goes, Charlie, he said, I see that you were in Third Ranger Battalion back in the '80s. I said, yes, sir. He said, who was your chaplain? And I said, I'll be honest with you, sir, I don't think we had a chaplain. I don't ever remember seeing a chaplain. And he goes, I was your chaplain. And I said, well, I don't remember seeing you one time.
Yeah,
He said, that's not true. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah.
yeah,
But he was the first chaplain in Delta, and then retired as the '06. And he and Jeff Struker were inducted together 3 years ago, and then now I'm the third chaplain to go
yeah.
in. And
Stuker, is that how you say his name? He's the
Struker,
Struker. He was the Black Hawk Down chaplain, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Jeff was he was an NCO then, and then he transitioned and became a chaplain, and then he retired in 2010. I think he retired in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah,
I mean, you guys are a small community anyway, so
yeah, yeah.
Pretty
yeah,
big honor.
Yeah, it's say again, sir.
I just said that's a pretty big honor.
yeah,
Yeah, it was. I was very surprised. The Fourth Battalion CSM is also a really good friend. He's the one that made that happen. He's the one that submitted me, named Dan Heflin. You remember Dan?
yeah,
No, you don't know Dan. Dan was with me in the 173rd, but Dan spent like 15 years in 10th Mountain Division. He
yeah,
was a wheeled mechanic, became an 11 Bravo, became an Airborne Ranger, and then he came to Italy to become a first sergeant. Dan
yeah.
Heflin.
The name
Yeah.
is familiar.
He's a great dude, man. Dan is just a good dude as well.
Yeah,
He called me and said, "Hey, can you send me your bio? I want to submit you to something." And I said, "What do you want to submit me to?" Because he says, "I'm going to try to submit you for the distinguished member of the board." I was like, "Dude, I'm a chaplain. I'm not getting any of that." He's like, "Just give me your stuff." And so then he called me up. He said, "Hey, dude, you're in." And I was like, "You got to be." I am so surprised.
yeah,
And it was for me again. It's like walking through history because where Ranger School is right now was my second home for Third Ranger Battalion, and so in 1984 when I got to reception station, it was where Ranger School is now. That was
yeah,
reception station. I go to basic and AIT at Harmony Church. I go to Airborne. I go to RIP. Third Ranger Battalion's in Sand Hill, and then we moved where Ranger School is now. and we're there for a couple of years, and then it moved down to Lost Army Airfield. And so I'm walking through, and back then it wasn't fourth battalion, it was companies. And I'm walking through looking at the history, and oh my God, I'm like, man, I served with him, I served with him, I served with him. And of course, Dan is like, for God's sakes, dude, were you in George Washington's army? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you know?
man,
Do you know Tony Main?
no.
Oh, he's a gallant. I think he's Gallant Few. He's part of a Ranger, so there's something like that down there. Ex Ranger guy.
Oh, hold on one second. I think my wife is home. Did I have this door locked? Oh, the dog is locked. I think I had the door locked. I'm sorry. I know I'm off camera here.
No worries, man.
No,
My dog was over there barking
Stop, Barf.
earlier.
Stop, Barf. Headed the door.
You been to any of the best Ranger competitions? Did you go this year, or did you
Uh-huh.
try to?
I
Yeah,
went this. I've been to 3 or 4. I took my son up in 2014 before we went to Italy. He wanted to see it, and then
yeah, yeah,
I've been to 3 or 4 of them.
yeah.
We had a team compete this year.
Trent was on there talking about how them planning that thing and like what they want to do and how like the random things that they think about, like, hey, we're gonna put them on boats and them shoot whatever or horses or
This year they were trying to shoot down drones. I got
yeah, I know. Like it's
yeah,
crazy. Like
yeah.
what he was talking about. Like
They shot 50 caliber cap and ball rifles.
Yeah,
Like yeah, it's fun. It's crazy.
yeah. He was telling me the amount of like firearms that those guys get, man. Like this, that
Yeah,
contribute to the. You want your firearm to be part of Best Ranger because those are the best of the best in the Army, and probably the whole world, like those guys. But
yeah.
man, like because I know you said that you did Best Ranger back in the days too. So
It
I
was
mean,
different then. It's nothing.
yeah,
Everything has gotten bigger and faster, and like I mean it's crazy how it is now.
hey, I was
RASP to go to Ranger Regiment now. RASP is 8 weeks. When I went, it was just 3 weeks of getting your butt kicked,
yeah,
and now it's 8 weeks for these kids. 8 weeks.
yeah. I think Regiment's so self-sustaining now too. They're huge. I think they got so many different capabilities coming out of that organization, from
Yeah,
dog handlers to long-range
yeah,
reconnaissance guys to
yeah,
snipers to it's
yeah.
insane, man. About what if someone would just read into that and find out, like you'd be really like surprised at what they can do. They can just kill anything on the planet. Pretty
That's right.
badasses, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the best Ranger guys, I look at them as just athletes. It's incredible because in seeing the winners this year for me as an enlisted, especially as a sergeant major, seeing a specialist and a sergeant win it is like
isn't that awesome?
that is like to me, I was so proud. I don't even know the kids, and I'm like, man,
Yeah,
those kids went in there. I'm sure they were a little trained up a little bit on things coming from Regiment, but
yeah,
I was talking to Trenton about it. I was like, if anybody has pressure to do well, it's those guys because they come from
yeah,
that place. So to
yeah,
have a sergeant and a specialist win that, like,
yeah,
that's pretty
yeah.
badass, dude.
That E4's
Yeah.
probably been in the army for 3 years or
I
less.
know it should be
Yeah,
E5 here soon. Like, geez,
that's
man. I
right.
mean,
I
how
would
do
hope
you?
so anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. You got any advice out there for anybody, Charlie, that's still serving or getting ready to transition out, or any new chaplains, that are doing their thing that might watch this or something?
Yeah, guys, the guys that are serving that are leaders, man, is just don't ever don't don't undervalue the impact of caring for your soldiers. Like like the soldier that's awkward, or that's struggling, and sometimes just a little bit of positive affirmation and attention, you have no idea that you may be the very first person in their life that's ever showed care for them. The army does draw a lot of people from backgrounds who the army is an escape for them in a good way. It's an opportunity for them to have a place to live, and to make a wage, and to put toward retirement, have medical and all of that stuff, right? But we have a lot of folks that come in the army, and they didn't have a positive figure in their life. And so try to think about that when you see that one soldier that's maybe not doing as well as you think they should or could. And you might be surprised at the difference that you can make in someone's life. I think all three of us can name people that made that difference for us. For chaplains that are coming in, I say this, I've said this for 20 years, right? And I just had this conversation with a group of chaplains in my office the other day. I said, I got three big rules for chaplains. Number one is don't be fat. There's no, I'm sorry, but if you're in the army, don't be a
Be
fat
fat.
chaplain,
Yeah.
right? Right. Get yourself in shape, because you know who has the most flexible PT hours? The chaplain. No one's looking for you in a PT formation in the sense of like counting noses. If you take off early to do PT, no one's going to question that. They're going to respect that. No one has more resources to be physically fit than the chaplain. So get yourself in shape. You don't got to be an ultra marathoner. You don't got to deadlift 500 pounds, but but you can't, if you can't hang, if you got to yell slow down, wait on me, you're losing. So number one is be fit. Number two is know your trade. Know your trade. Like no one should know your trade better than you. The commander should. You shouldn't be taking problems to commanders. You should be taking problems with courses of action solutions. All you should be giving to the commander is a decision brief. Hey, sir, this is what's going on. Here's 2 or 3 ways we can solve this. Is what I recommend and why. 9 out of 10 times, 9.9 out of 10 times, they're going to be like, "Hey, that sounds great. Go do that." You're solving a problem, because commanders have got more crap to do than solve your problems for you, right? So be fit, know your trade, and number three is be relatable. Don't just don't be awkward. D- You know, if you're awkward or not. Sometimes you can't fix it. Do the best that you can to just be a good dude, man. By
Yeah.
that I mean be someone that the guys can talk to. Like, you can't be so high and mighty. Don't love Jesus so much that you turn people off from Jesus.
Yeah.
If that can be understood correctly, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
like, don't be the kind of person that your piety is so high and mighty that the guy who's struggling for to give some girl $500 because he masturbated on camera in front of her doesn't feel like he can come and talk to you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I could see the relief on that kid's face when I wasn't sure. You did what, dude? No one's. You're 19. No
Yeah.
one is surprised. All right.
Harley,
Don't give
I'm
her
just glad you didn't
$500.
tell everybody it was me that came to talk to you about that. I
I
appreciate
wasn't gonna tell anyone, but Chris, since you, you
Chris, I
know,
think we had one of those cases in our battalion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I
Um,
remember. Yeah.
I don't know what they were doing. It's to do with social media and all the phones and stuff. I don't know, man. But
yeah, yeah,
did you, when you're out in the field and stuff, Charlie? Do chaplains they have a recommendation on services, right? Like, do you have to say, hey, like, sir, take some time on this day to break away to get the guys
yeah.
some
It
of
doesn't have
that,
to be
or
on Sunday. It can be any day of the week.
yeah, I like that's how you have to kind of approach that a little bit. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I say, hey, sir, can I get the guys together that have faith to have a short service? It doesn't got to be an hour long. It doesn't got to involve a piano and singing. It's about practicing our faith. Sometimes it just means coming together. I'm not a singer. I don't play an instrument. I play Spotify, but I don't play
Yeah.
an instrument, right?
Yeah.
So it's getting the guys to come together. If you share a passage of scripture and pray with them, then
Mhm.
that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes a
I,
long
I
way.
think it's important, man, because like some of the guys, the way in today's world, it's kind of hard to, say that I have faith. It's kind of looked down sometimes. I think like it's
Yeah.
hard to come out and say I'm faithful, right? So to have a chaplain that kind of pushes that and kind of like not pushes it, but kind of support, like gets out there and helps you kind of like practice what you want to do and practice your faith is awesome.
I just talked a couple, well, I don't know, a week or two ago. I was talking and I said, hey, I said, listen, man. I said, God, if I've got two tools in front of me, if I have a knife and a screwdriver, it's two different tools. Which one is the better tool? It depends on the job. Because
Yeah.
I don't want to use a knife like a screwdriver and a screwdriver like a knife. Can I screw something with my knife? I can, but I'm probably going to break it. Can I cut something with a screwdriver? I probably can a little bit. My wife is happy if you can hear him.
Yeah.
So when it comes to who you are, you gotta be comfortable in who you are and recognize that God made you the way that you are.
Hmm.
And I spent a lot of time initially when I came to my own faith in Christ trying to like ask God to remake me. Like I'd see other Christian men and I would think I'm not like that. And I came to realize that God made me who I am. and I'm more of a hammer than I am a, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know, a paintbrush. And I found that I've done pretty well relating to. I've stayed operational my whole career because that's where I'm the most comfortable. I'm comfortable in chaos. I'm comfortable with violence. I'm
Mm,
comfortable with risk. Some guys aren't. That's okay. We need chaplains who are comfortable in the hospitals. We need
yeah.
chaplains who are comfortable, you know, with you fill in the blank. I don't want to pick something. I don't want to. You got to figure out
Yeah.
what your strength is, man, and play to your strength. And for
Yeah.
me, I just like, I like going 100 mile an hour with my hair on fire
Yeah.
and
Well,
telling people about Jesus.
yeah. What was some of there's some new changes to you guys, right? Isn't there like a change that they did with rank or I don't
It, they
remember.
haven't they haven't answered it yet. They haven't
Uh,
told us. They're supposed to come out, I think, in the next week or two. Hegseth, the second ward, just said that he wanted us to take our rank off and just wear our insignia. Hey,
mhm,
I'm fine with that.
right.
I'm fine with that. I mean, my
Yeah.
rank is in parentheses anyway. It's my
Yeah.
pay grade, right? I'm
Yeah.
fine with that.
I think it's a distraction sometimes to some young guys too. Like, oh, he's lieutenant colonel.
Yeah,
It's like they don't
yeah,
see him as a chaplain. You know.
yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, the rank thing doesn't. There's going to be some. If people are upset about taking the rank off their uniform in what we do, then you're probably in it for the wrong reason.
yeah.
It's the same thing with doctors. I mean, I think doctors could take their rank off too. I had an eye exam the other day, Fort Belvoir, and the doctor, I've got this guy give me an eye exam, and I thought he was a civilian. And he turned around with his white shirt on. He's a full bird colonel. I said, "Damn, you must be short-handed if you're giving me an eye exam." You're an
Yeah.
'06 giving me an eye. I said, "Do you still know how to work this stuff?"
Yeah. Jeez. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's it. I think they're just taking the rank off the uniform. And I think it's just
Yeah.
going to be in the OCPs. I think they'll keep their rank in the dress uniform.
Yeah.
So,
I support it. I think it's a good idea.
yeah.
So
But I don't care about that, man. I just want
yeah.
to be around. I just want to love the soldiers and, you know, get out there and get after it.
Yeah. All right, Charlie. Is there anything we forgot that you kind of want to talk through, or is there anything that
I don't think so. You mentioned retirement. You could speak to us about retirement. You've been through it. I'm in the process of going through it. Chris, it looks like it's coming up for you. Only thing I would say that I've learned is take good notes. Don't skip the classes. Go to the classes. Ask the questions. I took really good notes and and I had to take really good notes because my wife is going to ask me 100 questions and I can't say I don't know, but maybe once.
Yeah.
She's going to make me go back and retake the class. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's good having a VSO in there, man. But yeah, I've done a lot of this stuff and dealing with social media, Charlie. And so I talked to a lot of veterans. So there's a guy that we do podcasts with. He does a GWAT Goons podcast. He was on our last episode, but we did a live. And there's so many veterans, man, that don't know the process. Like they didn't know about the VSOs. They didn't know about all that stuff. This guy was like, how do I do a claim? I was like, shit, like you got to find a
Yeah.
VSO. There's different
And
resources.
don't pay for a VSO. Don't
Yeah.
pay. Every Department of Veterans Affairs for the state, they have VSOs and they work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
go to Three Rangers or go to Care Coalition. Like you don't pay for a VSO. Go find there's enough out there. There's the VA. The VA wants to help you. What I have found with my wife working for the VA wants to help you, man.
They do. I've had pretty good experiences with the VA. I've got a pretty. If you come down here, Charlie, we have a pretty big VA hospital down here in St. Pete. So, like, it's
Yeah,
a
my
monster.
buddy lives at St. Pete Beach. He
Yeah,
goes to the same VA. He loves
yeah,
it. He said they're
it's
great.
awesome. I've had no. I mean, I've done a couple dental things. It is what it is, but overall,
Yeah,
like, it's been great. I've had no issues with the VA. They're still like calling me about checking on me.
yeah,
About how I'm doing now, and like because they call you, they do those time where they every 6 months or whatever. I don't remember, but they'll call you, but
yeah,
hey, how you doing? All that kind of stuff and stuff like that. So I
yeah.
guess it's
I
all
can't
about
wait,
people's
man.
experiences or not, but it's not
I'm
been bad.
coming, brother. I'm coming. I'm gonna be there with you soon.
Well,
So
if you come down this, we got to link up, man.
I'm
So
I'm talking to a realtor in that area now named Rebecca Collins. She sends me an email every night. Just
yeah,
came in with a list of
yeah.
houses. So
If you stayed in Tarpon Springs, Dunedin area up there, man, it's great. Come a little bit south, St. Pete's a little bit more expensive, but
yeah.
it is what it is.
Okay.
All right, Charlie. I mean, we're at 2 hours here. Hey, man, and I'll let Chris get the last word, like the battalion commander does. But I appreciate it. You didn't have to do this to come on and just BS with us.
Privilege.
You know, it's awesome hearing your story and, you know, hearing the other things that you dealt with as a chaplain. There's not a lot of chaplain perspectives out there, and I think it's good that I think this is. I hope you get a lot of people come in and listen to us, because this is a good one, man. And I appreciate you doing what you're doing, and I appreciate you being a good human being, man. So I stalk
Thanks,
you on
brother.
Facebook. I watch what you're doing, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, all I got to say as an old veteran is, sir, I'm proud of what you're doing. I'm proud of you, man. So, and I wish you and the family the best of luck in the future.
Well, thank you,
man.
brother. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You know, Chris, you
Same
got
to
anything?
you, man.
Yeah, Charlie, it's been great catching up with you. Honestly, you're one of our favorite chaplains of all time up there in 10th Mountain. And I can't wait till you move down to St. Pete, because that's where my daughter is. That's where Jerry is. So I'm sure I'll get
That's
to.
awesome.
And yeah, don't be a stranger, man. Good luck to you.
All right.
You've been awesome.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys. God bless you guys.
All right. Take care, guys. Talk to you later. This episode we posted this week. See ya. Bye.
Bye-bye.